That's right. It's Monday night. Sports on the Hill podcast, True Radio Network. Excuse me, episode 260, Capitals Talk, Super Bowl 56 recap of a great game. Robbie's coming to you with the NBA Roundtable as always, and some great Olympics coverage to end up the show. So we got a full show. We're going to try to get it all in, try to keep things on time tonight because you know how things can get a little crazy. But it was a great Super Bowl, great ending to the 21-22 season with the new extended season, uh, new playoff format. I'm not going to say pleasantly surprised, but I'm happy the way the playoffs went. There was all exciting games throughout the whole playoffs from the first round to the Super Bowl, and like I said, now is the most important time, off season, draft, free agency, and all of that good stuff coming up. So we're going to have that covered later on in the year when it's time for that. And as always, we got CP3 live in the lab, and we got RobbieG live in the man cave. RobbieG, how are you doing tonight, good sir?
I'm doing great. I'm sorry. I've got an issue that you often have with yours, which is the dog chewing the bone. That's always fun. But other than that, no, it's going well. We've got such a big and exciting night ahead of us. I'm really excited. For those who don't know, we're going to talk hockey at the start. We're going to then talk about the interesting Super Bowl yesterday with Dujunnea, so that'll be fun. And then we got our Wizards Roundtable, which is cool. And then at the end, we're doing this whole charity thing. And so we'll have people use exclamation donate in our Twitch chat. You'll see a lot more about what we're trying to do. You also see all these sorts of basically they've been able to raise a ton of money. We'll get into what the charity is all about towards the end of the stream, but if people want to donate, there's information on screen. Just shout us out, or one of the mods, and let us know that you made a donation, so that way we can shout you out on air. I'll have the donations up here as well. And so a lot of music streamers are raising a ton of money for children who need it, and they've really are well on their way to their goal. So I'll be shouting all of that out on the Twitch stream throughout the rest of the evening. Carol, definitely was an up and down week for the Capitals. We'll start there. Disappointing for sure. We'll go through each one of them. My dad has joined us in Twitch chat, and so is Andy and a couple of other people. So I appreciate everyone for tuning in. So let's get into the first game, and then while Carol breaks it down, I'll share it to a couple of hockey groups. But it was a not so great week for the Capitals. It started off last Tuesday against the Columbus Blue Jackets in their first game back after the All-Star break. Garnet Hathaway scored his 8th goal of the season, and the Washington Capitals were off to a good start. Assist by Nick Dowd, his 6th assist of the season. Carl Hagelin, 7th. And then 40 seconds into the second period, Nick Dowd scores an assist by Martin Favari, and his 5th, and Carl Haglin's 8th. Puts it 2-0 Capitals, and things are looking good. But they give up a power play, and Patrick Laine is amazing on the power play. He scores, and then they get another goal just about 3 minutes later, ties the game up. Kuzi scores for us on the power play, his 15th of the season. They retake the lead. Ovi's 30th assist of the season. John Carlson is 26 assists, 1557, made it a 3-2 game. But unfortunately, they gave him another power play, and Patrick Laine once again scores a goal. This time it's his 12th of the season, ties it up at 3-3. Gives them momentum going in to the third period, scoring just with 4 seconds left in the period. They unfortunately score 2 minutes and 40 seconds into the period, makes it 4-3. Tom Wilson scores towards the end of the game at 17:34, an unassisted goal, made it 4-4. And I thought, oh man, we're going to salvage a point here. And very quickly, I was wrong. 19:15 left. In the third period, Boone Jenner scores the game-winning goal, makes it 5-4 in a very, very frustrating game. But Carol, I'm going to let you give your extended take on that while I share this to a couple of Caps groups.
Hey, Robbie broke down the scoring very well. Like you said, the Caps jumped out to a 2-0 lead. Everything looked good. The next thing you know, Columbus tied it up. Then the Caps take the lead again. Next thing you know, they're down. Then they tie it back up and then find a way to lose it with 2 minutes left in the game. And they were trying to salvage a point and weren't able to do that. And I believe that was the 14th game they lost when they've had a lead this season. And that trend, we spoke about it earlier in the season, and it's continuing throughout. You know, at the beginning of the season, we saw, tough defense, 200 feet of ice, playing defense, all the way up. Transition game was good. It was lockdown defense. When they got a lead, the game was, pretty much a foregone conclusion. But then something turned, I know, with the injuries and everything. Excuse me, but you cannot have this continue to happen. You get 2-goal leads, sometimes 3-goal leads, and seeing the other team come back because they push back and the Capitals don't answer. So I don't know if it's the, something in their minds. 7 rookies this year that's got their first NHL goal. So that's a lot of inexperience on the ice. So that leading to the problems with the defense. Goaltending this past week has been questionable. So I believe during the trade deadline, I think they will be seeking a veteran goaltender to bring in because Samsonov, some games it looks like he's the guy, and in some games look like that he doesn't belong out there. And it's consistency is the key, and he hasn't had it. And, Double V, he's had unfortunate injuries this year where he hasn't had a chance to get into a steady rotation and, get locked in like we saw him do last year. So I believe there was some rumors of him, talking about, who was it, possibly signing Fleury, I believe, Robbie, you told me.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think
he doesn't seem to want to play here because of the rivalry and the history with the team. So it'll be interesting to see if he'd actually end up doing that. I think it would be tough to convince him, but I mean, I would love it. I think that would be probably gives him the best opportunity.
I mean, if he doesn't want to come, I don't want nobody that don't want to be here,
Yeah, for sure. That's true. One of the quick, I want to give a scoring update. The Wizards are playing Detroit live. The Wizards are up 94 to 88. But they just drained a 3 and made it 97 to 88. So we'll be looking at the last 4 minutes of that game. We'll talk more about it in the Wizards segment, but I'm just going to give a couple of scoring updates on that one as well. All right, well, I think we've kind of summed up that Columbus game pretty well. It's just really kind of heartbreaking and disappointing in a whole lot of ways. I mean, I'm happy Tom Wilson scored. I'm happy, Kuzi got a power play goal. I thought they could have come back and won that game, and that's what makes that one really tough. The next one is the Montreal Canadiens. It's Joe Snively gets on the board first. So he's in there on the top line because Ovechkin can't make the trip to Montreal because the rule states if anybody's had COVID within the last couple of weeks, you just basically can't come in. And so we've got Joe Snively getting on the board, his very first NHL goal, 5:04 in the first period. Justin Schultz 10th assist. Connor McMichael scores just 20 seconds later, his 7th of the season. Assist by Lars Eller, his 14th, and Trevor Van Riemsdyk, his 12th. Makes it 2-0. In the second period, Carl Hagelin scores 3:40 into it. From a pretty crazy angle, his 3rd goal of the season. Martin Favari gets his 6th assist. John Carlson's 27th, makes it 3-0. They get a goal back and make it 3-1. Joe Snively gets his 2nd of the season. And Joe Snively is actually from Virginia. He's, I believe, the very first player from the state of Virginia to ever score for the Washington Capitals. And now he's got 2 goals. Evgeny Kuznetsov got his 32nd assist of the season. Justin Schultz 11th, makes it 4-1. Cole Caulfield on the power play makes it 4-2 again, and then Tom Wilson gets the empty netter from Joe Snively, who could have gotten a hat trick, but I thought was very wise and passed it to Tom Wilson, who had a better shot at it. And Kuzi's 33rd assist of the season. But I'm just impressed that Joe could have had a hat trick, but made the right play, got it to Tom Wilson, gets 3 points on the night, which I've always said is just as good as a hat trick. You don't have to have all of them be goals. If you're responsible for 3 points, a hat trick of points is still very, very valuable, at least in most games. So really great game from Joe, and the whole team played really well north of the border. Now Montreal is a pretty terrible team, but what were some of your thoughts on that, Carol?
I mean, this game, the Capitals pretty much, took control of it off the break. And, they played defense. They gave up some late goals, to make it 5-2. But for the most part, they played solid defense from the break, even though we know Montreal isn't, one of the top echelon teams, but they did what they were supposed to do against a lesser opponent. They jumped on them, got a 3-0 lead, and, pretty much shut them down. And, they got a couple of goals, like I said, late in the game, but it was never really a contest. And we spoke about this last week with their goaltender. Even they spoke about it on a broadcast before he got pulled, that he has no confidence in what he's doing. All those goals that he gave up, especially the one that Hagman, that crazy angle, he took away the short side, but left the whole rest of the net wide open. And Hagman was able to snipe it in the top corner. So it looked like they're having some of the goalie issues that we're having with inconsistent goaltending. But when they brought in their backup, he didn't give up another 3. He gave up 1, but the other one was an empty net. So I don't know. It was a game when you was hoping that the Capitals would build off of, especially with the game on Super Bowl Sunday coming up, and against the opponent Ottawa, who have faced them twice this year already, and both times they've given up the first 2 or 3 goals and had to come back to win the game. And I was hoping they wouldn't happen again, but Robbie always speaks about the early afternoon games haven't been nice to the Capitals. So leading up to that game, I was hoping that this would build some momentum going into the game on Super Bowl Sunday, but we'll get to that in a little while.
Yeah. Yeah, that game was pretty rough. But I really am happy with how they did against Montreal. I thought that they kind of just took care of business, went north of the border without an Ovechkin, and kind of played a really good, solid team game. Montreal is a terrible team with a brand new coach, though, and they've kind of taken advantage of that now twice this season. Canadian teams getting new coaches and then playing them. So it's hard to know what you really gained out of it. Going into the next game, it started off so bad for the Capitals. I mean, a shorthanded goal right off the bat, very frustrating. And then they got Zach Sanford, former Washington Capital draft pick, assist on a second goal about 10 minutes later, makes it 2-0. I was so happy to see Nicholas Backstrom get on the board on the power play. So somebody other than Ovi or Kuzi scoring on the power play, which is a rare sight for this team. His 4th goal of the season, assist by Ovi, is 31st and John Carlson's 28th. Made it 2-1. I was like, all right, we can build something off this. But unfortunately, Brady Tkachuk scores his 15th of the season, makes it 3-1. And then in the third period, they tack in another goal, makes it 4-1. I'm going to go make myself a drink while you try to break this game down for a second, and then I'll be right back with my drink. But yeah, it was, from my point of view, everything but the Backstrom goal sucked.
Yeah, this was pretty much, as I mentioned, Ottawa has played the Capitals twice this year, and both times they jumped out with the lead, and the Capitals were with the early lead, and the Capitals were able to get their game together and were able to come back and win the game in both of those occurrences. So we spoke about this last week, that Ottawa is a tough team. They're fast, they're hungry, they're young, and if their goaltender plays, solid, they're a tough team to beat. And, Robbie, always says about the early games with the Capitals aren't really the best thing. So I don't know if they were sleepwalking through it, but Ottawa was wide awake and they jumped on the Capitals early, the shorthanded goal. We talked about the power play the last few weeks and how ineffective it has been. We know that Oshie's still out, but Backstrom's back. So, you're hoping that some things will start to click back in, even though you don't have Oshie in that pivotal bumper spot. But to have your power play lacking and giving up a shorthanded goal, And I believe we've given up 6 shorthanded goals this season. And I think that's second in the league. So granted, we've gotten 6 shorthanded goals, on our side. So we're even there. But when your power play is the 29th in the league, and I think it's 15.7%, you can't afford to give up shorthanded goals when you're not even scoring on your own power play. And I don't want to say that took the momentum and gave Ottawa. I think it did give Ottawa more momentum, and it just got them, pushing more, and the Capitals didn't push back. And like I said before, you knew it, it was 2-1 trying to come back, but you couldn't get that goal to tie it up. They always say that's the next goal will be the most important goal in the 2-1 game, and Ottawa got it, and they were able to hold on for the 4-1 victory, and made the Caps look pretty bad at home.
Yeah, for sure. I don't know. It's very frustrating for a whole lot of reasons. That game just kind of I don't know. I just was expecting so much more from that. And I don't even know really what more to break down other than like we should beat a team like that. We had Ovechkin back. I like the new lineups. It had some interesting mixes and matches. I thought it might be successful against that thing, and I felt like the energy wasn't there at the beginning of the game, and like we were kind of behind it from the start, and we just don't play well. I know we come back a lot, but like we still don't necessarily win a lot of those games. We often come back and sometimes fall short, and it's just frustrating all around.
That game hurt, but I think the Columbus game hurt more because they didn't even, they had a chance to get a point and found a way to squander it with 2 minutes left right after Tom Wilson scored to tie it up to try to, get a point, being that they, squandered leads in that game several times. And I think that one hurt the most, especially, with it being a Metro opponent that isn't playing that well. You definitely, because they do have a good record against the division, but you don't want to lose games like that when you should have at least got a point out of it, especially against the division, because those points will count later in the season.
For sure. I agree. All right. Well, let's take a quick look at the week ahead for the Capitals. They've got Nashville tomorrow. That's at this 8:00 game. And then Thursday, they're going to be playing at Philadelphia. It's a 7:00 game. And so this is still part of that Olympic break where like some teams play other teams and some teams like play very few games. Like, and I'm trying to think of how many games the Rangers had. In that same time, they play. I guess they play the 15th against Boston, but that was like the first game that they had in 2 weeks, right? So it's kind of strange to look at how like lopsided some of these are. Like some teams played a lot more games than others. And I don't think the Rangers would have played any at all, but they're just trying to like thin out some other parts of their schedule. So that's why they're playing this game this week. But anyway, Nashville has been a tough out for the Capitals, especially in Nashville. They have lost to the Jets and the Dallas Stars. They beat Vancouver, lost to Edmonton, and beat Seattle in all pretty close games, except for the Vancouver. They beat them 4-2. They lost to the Winnipeg Jets 5-2, but the other ones were close. We really need to go into Nashville and somehow get a win. I have a friend of mine who's been kind of a lucky charm for the Capitals and Ravens all season, going to that Pittsburgh game a couple of weeks ago where they won a game. I'm hoping he's their good luck charm again. This is going to be a tough matchup. What are your thoughts on the Predators?
Yeah, it's definitely a tough matchup. Nashville is very good at home. They have solid goaltending and have, I always hate to say it, but Capitals draft pick Forsberg, who's a free agent at the end of the season. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens with that. But yeah, Nashville is always a tough out for this team, especially like you say in Nashville. I don't know what it is about that building that gives the Caps problems, but they're definitely going to have to come out, and that first 10 minutes they need to set the tone and set the pace for the game and play solid defense, to start the game out and not have to ramp up throughout the game. We've always talked about playing 60 minutes. And lately we've been seeing maybe 45 or maybe 50 minutes instead of a full 60 minutes of hockey. So They need to come out ready to go, legs moving, out there with the forecheck, hitting them, putting them on the boards, and getting the puck deep and getting some zone time. That's one thing that I've noticed on this latest stretch. They haven't been getting a lot of zone time, not just on the power play, but on 5-on-5. At the beginning of the season, they were leading the league in 5-on-5 goals, but lately, I don't see any, puck possession, any zone time, any extended zone time, any of that. So they need to get back to some of that. But like I said, other teams are playing them more aggressive now and taking away time and space. So they have to find a way to counter that. But definitely something has to improve with this team, and they have to come out ready to play as soon as the puck drops. Not go down 2 goals and then we gotta get it going. We need to get it going off the break.
Yeah, for sure. They're almost exactly in the same sort of place on the West Coast that we are. They're at the bottom of the Central, but they're right in that playoff. Like they're at 60 points, we're at 61. So it'll be a really interesting, very close matchup. Looking ahead to Thursday's game, we play the division rival, the Flyers. The Flyers have lost 2 games in a row to Detroit. They beat the Jets before that. They beat the Kings before that and lost the Islanders before that game. Flyers have had a really rough season. This game's in Philadelphia. So it's going to be a rough and tumble affair. It's going to be one of those games on ESPN Plus that I know our fans hate. But Carol, what are your quick thoughts on the Philly game?
Philly, we know how Philly rolls. We know how they are at home. And the Capitals definitely going to have to, like I say, start out the game, as soon as the puck drops. You can't, especially on the road, you can't, you're not going to have a crowd to help will you back into the game and get you, going in the game. So, the Caps normally play better on the road because they simplify things and, keep it simple and no fancy passes. And that's not everything. I feel like a wraparound passes and blind passes that's been ending up being turnovers in their own zone. So I just think they need to simplify things, get back to basics, and then, things start falling into place after that. I think they still trying to get a little too fancy with all of these new pieces they have on the lines, on each line. Nicky just coming back. I know he's a veteran, but he's still getting back in the groove for him being missing most of the season. And all the new players that's come up, it's just get back to basics, keep it simple. Let's get the puck in the back of the net. It doesn't have to be pretty and a top 10 highlight every time. Sometimes you got to get those dirty goals in front. You chipping away at it and got somebody get close in the blue paint.
Yeah, for sure. That'll be our last game for a while. We're not going to play again for another week until the following Thursday, and then we'll play the following Saturday after that against Philadelphia again. Both games in Philly. That's another one of those 12:30 games that I hate so much. So that'll be things we'll look forward to in the next week. But I think that was a pretty good, just quick breakdown of Caps talk. I know that we already got Dujunnea on the line, so we'll go to our Super Bowl talk a little bit early because I know that there's a lot to break down. So we're going to bring in Dujunnea now. I first have to, 2 quick things off the bat, and then we can get into everything else. Dujunnea, you weren't here last week. We have to get your quick take. It was the Commanders. They didn't do it wasn't a play on anything, and unfortunately it was the pick I didn't want. But I want to get your reaction to that, and then we can get into the Super Bowl talk.
It's a name. It was a garbage dump rollout, and we can't even win off the field. So, yeah. So it is what it is, and it got to win on the field. It doesn't matter whether they call them the cupcakes, toilet bowls, hogs, red hogs, wart hogs. Doesn't matter. They got to start winning on the field for anything to matter. So, but yeah, rollout looked like I probably could find a room of kindergartners that could have done a better job than the curtain drop and the ta-da that we got.
Yep, I agree. Well, welcome to the show. Happy Valentine's Day. I'm happy you could join us. We can talk about more things like the Super Bowl in 1 second. One other Defenders news, or not Defenders, I want to call them Defenders. That would be a better name. Commanders news. So looks like the owners may not decide to vote out Dan. And there's also been rumors today that was talked about saying if it was a written report that they had gotten to submit, they would have suggested he be ousted to begin with, but it was an oral one that was kept hush hush. Dujunnea, do you think that this is starting to be the end, or is it just more smoke and mirrors and he'll dodge this one too?
Look, I think there's a possibility, but I think people need to realize, or they don't realize. Look, Dan got dirt on them too. Okay, so maybe he does get ousted, but they better be ready to defend themselves as well, because we know that one in the big state of Texas who has his business in the street, and I'm sure there's other organizations as well. So I do think there's a possibility, but I also know that Dan got dirt on them too. So good luck with that.
I said at the bar radio, I find it kind of questionable that all of a sudden now, when Congress gets involved, which I also find questionable, that now you have 9, 10, folks saying that, have direct implications of Snyder when a report originally came out, it was nothing that could link him to anything directly. And no one has any exact dates. No one has any exact events. They just saying that, something happened. So I don't know what's going on, because you have to have, I think I looked at it, I think you have to have 26 of the 32 owners to vote out a fellow owner. And one of the only ways you could really vote an owner out is because of the morality clause, which is sexual harassment, yada, 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 stuff like that, drugs, whatever. So this whole situation is just crazy. But like Dujunnea said, Snyder has dirt on a lot of people. So how is this going to go down? Are the owners going to vote him out and, like you say, prepare themselves for the fall that's going to come after it, or that's going to, find a way to work it out where he pays a fine, another fine, or steps away from the organization and continues to have his wife running, whatever. But it's interesting how all of this stuff is playing out. And I need to start taking better notes, because I need to do a documentary on it, because this is going to be good film right here.
But don't forget now, you're just focusing on what people are talking about. These women are talking about who it's legit. Okay, it's legit. They got emails, man. I mean, these folks have been so nonchalant and were so careless with what they were doing and reckless with what they were doing. I mean, Gruden's caught up in this, both of them. There's emails. They can track all this stuff. I mean, that first report that, your glorious commissioner, who should be canned himself, they got enough evidence. And then for Snyder to say that he's going to investigate himself is a joke. Another big fat joke. What good is that? I mean, isn't that the same result of what happened this time when your boy from the NFL, the commissioner, saved you from your business being put in the street when that's what should have been done? Because the business was put in the street. That's exactly what would have happened, is that he wouldn't even be the owner. They would have voted his butt out of here. I mean, most people know exactly what happened here. Most people know what happened here.
It's crazy how they have the agreement that both parties have to agree to give investigative notes into a third party.
It's trash.
I mean, I don't know. I'm not trying to disregard the allegations and say it didn't happen and I wasn't there. I just say, like I say, I find it convenient that all of a sudden now, when the other executives and certain members of the media staff were let go, when everything hit the fan, that it was clearly said that there was no direct implications to him. And then all of a sudden, once Congress get involved, which I've always had a question mark about, what influence with all the stuff that they have going on right now that needs to be addressed, that this is a big issue to them, that all of a sudden they want to, have a whole hearing about it. Like I said, we talked about this before on the show. We don't talk about the politics and the outside stuff.
Right.
But to me, this smells funky of Jeff Bezos. I'm sorry. Sorry, bro. With him getting all them tax breaks and all the stuff he got going on, and he couldn't get a team and he couldn't get Seattle because the folks in Seattle know how he rolled. But now he's here and he's been made it known that he wants to own the team. The mayor and the councilwoman, Eleanor Holmes Norton, has made it known they want a stadium back in the city, and he said that he would build a dome in the city if he ever had a team. I just feel there's a lot of other side shady stuff going on that's involved, and it's not saying it's not as clean. I'm just saying there's too many other moving parts for me to say, okay, yeah, this is solid, this is this is this. I want to wait until everything falls. So like you said, if Snyder goes down, he's going to take some people down with him, and I want to.
Should be.
Yeah, I want to see all the fallout that comes from it. But let's get off of that. We got all off season to talk about it. Let's get to the real deal in Super Bowl 56 and that great game that we witnessed between the Rams and Cincinnati. The Rams. I was leaning toward them, but I wouldn't be surprised if Cincinnati pulled it off. The Rams, they were ready. I didn't get a chance to pay a lot of attention to the game. I was watching the game, doing the show I was doing, but the Rams definitely, with Matt Stafford, he was definitely ready to, make something happen. Odell Beckham was making his presence known in the Super Bowl until he went out with the knee injury. That definitely changed the complexion of the game. Cincinnati has been a second half team for most of the year, and they showed that. And the way it came down to the wire, so I saw some folks talking about, it might be, fixed with some of the calls and non-calls. Like I said, I didn't pay close attention. I looked at the penalties. There weren't really a lot of penalties. I know I saw the play with Higgins when he tugged Ramsey's helmet and, kind of threw him off balance and had the longest reception in Super Bowl, longest touchdown reception in Super Bowl history. And they didn't call that. I don't know how they missed that, but I didn't really see any egregious misses or any bad calls in the game. I thought it was a very entertaining game. And, I did want the Rams to win, and they did pull it out, but I wouldn't have been shocked if Cincy did. Cincinnati definitely has a huge, upside and future ahead of them with the pieces they have in place already, and then, add more to it. So I thought it was a very entertaining Super Bowl. And then we'll talk about the halftime show later. That's a whole nother conversation. So, but I thought it was a good game. I thought they, it was exactly what we pretty much said it was. It was going to come down to which defense stood up when it was time to stand up, and the Rams defense stood up when it was time to stand up. And Dujunnea, I'll let you take it away because I haven't have any idea what you thought, because we haven't talked about it all. So I want to get your take on it.
It was a good game. It played out pretty much the way that I thought it would turn out, with the exception of I thought Zach Taylor showed his inexperience as a coach. There's some things that the Rams did as far as running the football too much. You weren't going to run the football. They made it. Cincinnati made it clear that they weren't going to allow you to run the football, and they continued to do so. That was a negative that I thought that the Rams made. Cincinnati late in the ball game did not stick with the run, and I would have stuck with Mixon and P. Ryan. I don't know what you were trying to do there. Mixon needed to have the ball in his hands completely. He was averaging, I believe, at least I think it was like 6 yards a carry, I believe. But he was averaging very good yards per carry. There was no excuse for him to not be the one with the ball in his hands. They should have been running the ball more. That would have taken some pressure off of that offensive line. and would allow them to go do a little bit more boot action, some more play action, and allowed them to make some plays in the passing game. They got way too pass happy, and it played right into that defensive front four. I hear people talking about the face mask, and yes, they missed it, but let's be real here, okay? Jalen Ramsey has played like lukewarm dumpster juice the whole entire playoffs, okay? Him and Eli Apple are in the same boat. Trash. They play like trash the whole entire playoffs, and they both got toasted. And Eli Apple was the one who was to get toasted the most, who cost them the game. I do feel that the refs got too involved. To finish that, yes, it was a face mask, but it was not enough for him to go flopping down the field 7 yards. He still had enough opportunity to make a play on that ball. He was acting and looking for someone to help him because he was burnt like a biscuit and didn't know what the heck was going on. Then he's looking around all confused. He's confused because once again, for like the third or fourth time in that game, he got made look like some lukewarm dumpster juice, burnt toast.
I mean, he
trash.
He was in good position on that play, though.
Doesn't matter. He didn't get pushed enough to be flopping down the field 7 yards. Okay,
I mean, momentum was carrying. I mean, because if you put
on a face mask when your head is turned back, you mean to tell me you gonna flop down the field 7 yards? I mean, I'm not buying that.
Maybe he was trying to, get the call because he hadn't felt like he got it before, but that should have been
was ugly.
Something
it should have been called, but he shouldn't have been flopping down the field 7 yards.
Yeah, true.
Sorry, I am not giving him that. He's played like trash the whole playoffs. Stop bailing him out. Sorry, I'm not going for it. The linebacker who made an excellent play and batted that ball down, which was thrown behind Cooper Kupp, and they threw that flag, trash. You hadn't called it all game. Where did that come from? Now we all of a sudden want to call fouls that weren't fouls, and that was not a foul. That was a great play made by the linebacker. Was it the play that cost Cincinnati the game? Absolutely not. Why? Because Zach Taylor is an inexperienced young coach and was basically in a situation that he was going to get outcoached in. It didn't matter whether they got the ball back. It was going to be 4th and 1, 4th and 4, whatever. I don't think they kick a field goal. I still don't think Cincinnati wins this ball game because Zach Taylor's not smart enough to run the football, which was working against this defense that is aggressive, was leaving gaps wide the heck open for them to run in and putting them in good position to be able to pass the football. They also made some key drops. It was Higgins who dropped the ball. Tyler Boyd hadn't dropped a stinking ball all season long. Dropped the ball in the key moment in the game where he possibly could have had enough momentum to carry him for a first down. So they made some mistakes. I think coaching was the factor that made it. Now, I'm not saying that Sean McVay, play calling was stellar or anything. I think Matt Stafford bailed him out.
Oh my God! Some of those play calls in the second half, I was ready to smack him, man.
Matt Stafford bailed him out, but I'm saying overall, Zach Taylor did not play to the strength of his football team. He put his quarterback in a bad situation to get sacked 7 times, knowing that his offensive line leaks badly, and the running game is what stops them and allows them to be very good as far as protecting their quarterback in passing situations. They got pass happy. He panicked. They lost this football game by 3, and they really could have won this football game by 3 if they run the football more in that second half. So the right team won the football game. I don't think those calls down the stretch changed anything, but I do not like the fact that the referees got involved at the end of that football game. It didn't have to happen. They didn't need to be involved. They'd allowed them to play all game. I don't want to hear about a makeup call that's way late in the game to be having a makeup call. You missed the call, own it, but don't go making a call on something that's a non-call. That's trash.
Well,
And we all know that.
My big problem the whole entire night was they were doing so good on not having penalty calls the whole night, and then at the end you're going to ruin it. I'm like, oh,
Right.
like a non-issue. Like they were that close to like finally having a big game with no controversy. You know,
Right.
it's just like,
and see,
wow.
that's you're making a good point there, Robbie. That's where people go and say, see, the NFL is fixing games. This is where they're fixing it to have the team that they want to win by making calls like that, where there is not a foul. And then we all know it's not a foul. You can look at that and see it. It's clear. They have been calling that. And it's not like he tugged the jersey. He wasn't holding anybody. And any talking head on the radio that's sitting up here calling that a foul is just playing in and just protecting the shield. It's bullcrap. There was no foul on that play. That linebacker made an excellent play on the ball. It was a bad throw by Stafford. It was behind him. The linebacker makes a great play on Cup, and they throw a flag for no reason at all.
All right. I want to go back to what you were saying about the run-pass ratio with Cincinnati. Because Mixon, like you said, Mixon was getting almost 5 yards a carry. He had 15 carries for 72 yards. And a 4.8 yard average. Joe Burrow only threw the ball 33 times. Let me check and see if I can find how many they ran total. Because Mixon was, having a good day. I felt like he did get away from the run more than he should have, and he didn't do his team any justice by abandoning the run. But I mean, Burrow was in a zone, so I can understand some of the mixture of him throwing the ball a little bit more, but
he was allowed him to tee off. If you look at the situation though, in the situation in the moment, that defensive front was teeing off on them, and to counter that, in the moments when he ran the football, they gashed them, especially when they got in position, or when they made a drive that stalled, but they gashed them a few times for some big runs that resulted in them flipping the field position, potentially flipping the field position. And he just didn't make those calls, didn't forcing and running up the middle at the most inopportune time. I just don't agree with that. You gotta understand the situation. You gotta understand the position that you're in, and look at the opposing team defense and what they're doing. Hey, they're looking to come at you. Their teeth are their teeth are showing, and they're foam at the mouth. They're teeing off, looking to come after your quarterback. The way to counter that is to maybe you delay handoff with a draw or something to negate that pass rush. We all know that you aggressive defense is to run that football right at them, and they'll blow right by you. They're going to give you the lanes. You just have to be smart about it.
True. Yeah, because I'm looking at the Burrow threw the ball 33 times, and they ran the ball 20 times, and 15 of those went to Mixon. They tried to mix in P. Ryan. I don't know why Mixon was having a good go. Just looking at some of the stats. Cincinnati had 15 first downs. The Rams had 17. Third down conversions is where this game, I feel, was lost.
Yeah.
Cincinnati was 3 for 14, and the Rams were 6 for 15. Rush yards, Cincinnati had 79. Rams had 43. Total yards, 313 for the Rams, 315 for the Bengals. 7 sacks for the Rams, 2 for Cincy. And the time of possession was almost dead even, 30 minutes and 47 seconds for the Rams and 29 minutes and 13 seconds for Cincy. It just came down to, like you say, execution when it was time for, crunch time. And I mean, Cooper Kupp, we got to take some time and talk about the stellar season this dude had out of nowhere. The Triple Crown winner. 145 receptions, 1,943 yards, and 16 touchdowns. Led the league in all three categories, and was the MVP of the Super Bowl with 8 catches for 92 yards, 11.5 that average, and 2 touchdowns. I mean, we knew the dude was good, but to shine on a big stage like that, we saw what he did during the season. Him and Stafford had a connection, like I said, the Triple Crown winner, for the wide receiver, that's already a huge statement right there. But then to go into the Super Bowl and come up with 2 huge touchdowns, the game-winning touchdown, and to get the MVP, it's you got to take your hat off. Also got to take your hat off to Sean McVay. Jay Gruden ran him out of town. He could have possibly been the coach here, but they're raising the trophy in LA now, and got to give a shout out to him. He took like 5 of our assistants, so they now have rings now. I was rooting for them. OBJ, he got a ring. He got hurt, unfortunately, in the game. That definitely changed the complexion of the game because he was having a good performance so far before he got hurt. But yeah, you got to take your hat off to them. They figured it out, even though McVay was trying to give the game away later in the game, like Dujunnea said he would. But you got to take your hat off to him. Stafford, I was rooting for him. All them years in Detroit and in that franchise, and going to a team that's a contender, and him actually being able to get it done. Got to take your hat off to him because some folks get in that position and still can't put it together. And I just think it was a great Super Bowl.
It was
winning, and it wasn't a blowout. It came down to the end, and reminded me of the old Rams Titans that came down to the last second with them diving on the 2-yard line and trying to stretch for the touchdown. It kind of reminded me of that field because it was going back and forth. You didn't know, who was going to win it, and then that crucial, time in the game, that sack that led to the turnover on downs, and next thing you know, LA Rams was celebrating Super Bowl victory.
Yeah, it was a good one.
I'm gonna go into the bladder real quick while Robbie give his take, and we'll talk about the halftime show before we get out of here for the NBA Roundtable.
Sounds good. Yeah, I thought it was a good game too. It's hard for me because I didn't really know who to root for. I like the underdog story of Cincinnati. We've been talking for a while that we thought the AFC was a better division or a better conference, and whoever was going to be the winner from that was going to be that. But it's always, I feel like that happens a lot where it's like this conference is better, but then it comes to the Super Bowl and it doesn't like throw that out the window because it really doesn't seem to matter a whole lot. I liked LA. I like their story. I like some of the players on that team. I was kind of bummed that the 49ers weren't the team to make it, but it wasn't enough for me. I know that Anna and some other people are now like anybody, but yeah, LA, and I understand that as well. But it's hard for me to get behind Cincinnati being a Ravens fan and then beating the crap out of the Ravens twice. And so that's very frustrating. But at the same time, my dad was like, well, you want to lose to the best, right? So, you should root for them. And then it doesn't look so bad that the Ravens lost to the Super Bowl champions. That might be, but ultimately, I think I'm happy with it being a close game, a good game. There wasn't too many controversies. There was a little bit, but it wasn't like the whole game was that way. And I think that the better team ultimately won. I think LA's been kind of doing that all season, and they've been kind of flirting with disaster, but somehow finding a way to move on. And they kind of flirted with disaster again and found a way to move on and ultimately become a champion. But I agree, for me and my money's worth, I think the halftime show was a better performance. So I'll let that be the segue for Carol, for you to help break it down. I saw one meme. I'll just say it real fast and then I'll get your take. Basically, anyone that was under 30 is like, who are these guys? And anyone over 50 hated this show. But that sweet spot of if you're 30 to 50 freaking went off for it. And I kind of feel like I'm in that category. But what are your thoughts, Carol?
I thought it was one of the best, if not the best halftime show ever, just because, like you said, we came up in that era. And just to see all of, even though it was, some folks said it was watered down hip hop, it was still hip hop being represented on a worldwide stage and, celebrating, minority artists that's, made hip hop what it is today, that helped make hip hop what it is today. So the halftime show was phenomenal. I loved every minute of it. The 50 Cent surprise was definitely unexpected. And, everybody's having fun, talk about how the inflation has got 50 Cent looking like $1. It was definitely, I haven't got a chance to watch it for real, because we were doing our show at the bar radio. So we were watching it during the video break. But I'm going to go back and look at it with the, music up, with the, surround sound on it. I might, start crip walking and dancing around this joint myself, man. But I definitely think, I normally don't watch the halftime show. I really don't care about it, but this definitely is up there with the Prince halftime performance, the Janet Jackson wardrobe malfunction. And you got to put this one up there as, I say top 3 halftime shows ever.
Yeah, it was good, man. I like the fact that it triggered some folks. I'm good. I'm not sure if it's the over 50 crowd. I ain't going to call them out, but you know who you are. It ain't us. It ain't us. I'm gonna just put it that way. Who's over 50? It's them Karens. You know who you are. That don't like it, and I'm cool with that. Keep crying. Keep that OBJ cry face going on. That's the new Jordan cry face, by the way.
Yeah, I knew that was going to be when I seen them doing.
Yes, sir. When I saw that, I knew it right off the top. But it was a great show. They did the best that they could to fit all of that in a 10-minute span. The surprise by 50. I would have liked to see more Kendrick than 50, but it was still cool though. Eminem was great. I know a lot of those guys got a lot of new music out, but I think what they did was they played to California's classics and the stuff that people knew, and that could get the stadium rocking, and it took you back, man. I loved it. And like I said, I love the fact that it triggered some folks too. So, it's great to have some hip hop representation. Just remember that, how many times we resurrected these old ancient 80s hair bands that y'all come out and bring out of the daggone nursing home to come play at the halftime show. Now that's how you perform. That's all I'm going to say. That's how you perform. Now, let's see this keep going the way that it should be, because all that other stuff, come on, man.
Yeah, my personal opinion, I loved every moment of it. I thought I wanted more from each one, but I understand what you're saying. Like, there's a confined time, but it's like I have so many songs I would love to see Eminem do in the biggest stage, and I'm like, it makes sense what they picked, but like I liked his kneeling. People like that turned into its own controversy. Is he Kaepernicking? Is he not? That's
Trigger
all over
folks,
media.
Boy. Trigger folks. I loved it.
Yeah, and I loved it. I thought he was just bowing to the greatness that is Dr. Dre. That's how I took it.
I thought that he was kind of fading out from it was, because he was done. So he was kind of like fading out, and then he was letting Dre do his thing or whatever. But you know how it is. I'm cool with it though. I don't care what they think.
Right. Either way, I liked it, whether it is a political message or
That's
just
right.
not.
I don't care what they think.
Yeah,
think
either
what you
way.
think.
It was a great performance. I seen Dr. Dre play the keys. I thought that was amazing.
That was amazing.
Yeah, I did not expect that moment, but that was that for me. Did either of you guys real quickly do the VR thing that they were like showcasing?
No.
And I know Carol was like only watching the. See, I unfortunately had to watch on delay because I put my kid to sleep, and I came back and watched it, and then I had to fast forward through parts of the third, to catch up, which is fine because it wasn't a very exciting third quarter anyway. But so I wish I had gotten to see it because I heard from people that did do it that it was like one of the coolest experiences they've ever done with their device, and you got to be like on stage with them, and that would have been cool. But I think you had to be like in that moment at that time.
Yeah.
So
right.
But that's cool that they tried that. It is. And it's cool that some people didn't need that. Some people didn't want that, but some people got an opportunity, something for everybody, which, you know, is cool as well. So good on them. I hope that we get to see other genres of music going forward. I think this really highlighted that there was a very much of a lack of this. And, you know, somebody's going to get offended every time, right? You know, somebody's not going to, I mean, Carol might not be interested in certain bands or whatever. But I like that they need to rotate this and try different things. And that way across a 5-year span, there's something for everybody.
Well, you know, you gotta give a shout out to Jay-Z because I know he was instrumental in putting this halftime show together. A lot of folks criticizing him when he took on that role with the NFL to bridge the gap. So, you know, a lot of folks don't want to talk about it, but you got to give him a shout out for it because, you know, he was instrumental in putting this whole thing together. So it was definitely a great experience to see. You know, we're going to see how things go moving forward. But it was, like I said, it was definitely entertaining 2021, 2022 season with the new 17-week schedule, along with the new playoff format. Only, you know, the first place team get the first round bye, and you play with the extra wild card team. So definitely NFL is going in the right direction. Dujunnea, I can't wait for us to have our off-season show with Washington and see what they do.
Yeah.
Brandon Sheriff hopefully being gone and getting that $18 million off the books, and Landon Collins either taking a pay cut or getting his $17 million off the books, and that'll put us around $60 million under the cap, and we can finally hopefully get us a franchise quarterback, because I've been hearing some things about, you know, Russell Wilson might be on their radar, and they might be, as long as they throw the truck at Terry and lock him in and get us a quality quarterback. I think this team could definitely take a step in the right direction in 2022 and 2023 season. Yeah,
it's a possibility, man. Some quarterbacks out there. You got Kyler Murray out there in the mix now too, because he wants out. So, or they want him out, which is wild to me. But yeah, there's some bodies out there. So we'll see what Washington does. It'll be very interesting.
I forgot to ask, did you see the clickbait I put out there the other day, man?
I did. That was hilarious.
I had to do it, man, especially after he took all of the Arizona stuff off his Instagram. I put it up just to see, but I didn't put it on the show page. I put it on my page to see.
Yeah, that was awesome.
Man, that was hilarious.
I missed that. What did you share? Hold on.
It was a tweet that apparently that Arizona had traded Kyler Murray to Minnesota.
Oh no!
So I posted it on my personal page as breaking news. I didn't put it on the show page, and a lot of folks was shocked. A lot of folks was like, "That's not," because the guy's name was Benjamin Dover, and they realized it was Ben Dover. So it was like, you know, Google. I was like, I know that's why I didn't put it on my show page. I just want some clickbait on my page. I need some.
That was excellent.
That's pretty awesome. Well, it's been such a fun football season. I'm sorry that it's over, but, you know, we'll always have you back, Dujunnea, to break down all the off-season news. So it won't be long until we get to talk football again. Give a shout out to all of your podcasts and shows that you're doing. People can catch you on your social media, and we look forward to talking to you soon.
You can check me out at Not Bland 21 on Twitter. The Not Bland Show. We'll be talking about drag racing as the season gets started this weekend. So I'll be breaking down the first race of the season, what I expect to see this weekend as we get started and break into the 2022 season. And then, of course, you can always catch me on the breakdown as we're going to start having some driver interviews and some more personal interviews with the drivers, as well as me and Karita breaking down some things with the NBA, the WNBA, and of course, Washington football team and other stuff that, you know, comes across the wire that, you know, may grind our gears that we'll talk about as well. So I appreciate you guys, man. And of course, you know, we'll be back at it again. Of course, the USFL starts in April. So make sure you guys check that out. I'm looking forward to it.
Definitely. We definitely want to see what the product looks like. The XFL was off to a good start until, you know, what went down with them. So hopefully we can get some more football going out for some of these guys that still, you know, able to play the game. Might not be at the NFL level, but, you know, they still have talent enough to entertain us and put a good product on the field. So we definitely want to keep that in mind and check them out as with the NFL offseason and all of the goings on, free agency and draft and all of that stuff. So, we're going to pick Dujunea's brain, being the college guy that we have on staff that covers all the NCAA, especially the SEC. So stay tuned. Check out Dujunnea on our website, SportsOTHP.com, all the podcast partners. Click on there and check out all the great stuff that he's putting out there on all the platforms, any and everything sports related.
All right, fellas.
Sounds
All
good.
right.
Thank you again, Dujunnea. We'll talk to you soon.
All right, guys. Y'all have a good one.
You too.
All right, Carol, I'll let you give your final thoughts before I let you get out of here, and then I'll bring my NBA roundtable on for an abbreviated little segment. And then, I wanted to give a quick little shout out. One of my mods, Andy, was my first donation on my side of it. I'm sorry if people on Twitch land, the audio was a little loud for when donations were getting through, and they're raising a ton of money over on the music stream as well. So a lot of money being raised, Carol, for a really important children's charity, $18,250 already on just day 2 of 5. We'll talk more about what the charity is about with one of the creators of it a little bit later in our final segment, but I'm happy to see that they did so well over the last 2 hours. And we'll be also doing live look-ins during the last segment of how the show is going over on the other channels as well. But Carol, thanks for being a part of this and letting me have special Valentine's Day special. But Carol, any final thoughts before I let you go tonight?
Well, I'm glad that SportsOTHP is a part of the charity event. I'm glad that folks are donating to the kids and everything. Appreciate y'all checking us out as always. We're going into season 7, year 6. So working on a new intro. Yeah, we got it. If a room's on Zoom, man, will you get me a picture so I can finish with the new intro for 7? For almost a week now, man. Just send me some picture. I'm gonna take one off your Facebook page.
We're gonna pull him in right now and take a snapshot.
Well, I'm gonna use the Zoom drink with the dog in the background that you always have. So, but appreciate y'all checking us out. We're looking to grow and expand. I'm working on some things on some other platforms. Working on some guests coming on. Working on a prominent member of the Washington football organization that I'm trying to lock down the interview with, and possibly some other things. So stay tuned. Hail to the Washington Commanders. That's the first time I ever said that. That was different. The website, sportsothp.com. You can go subscribe to my YouTube channel. I'm gonna start doing some more highlight videos for the Castles. There's been so much going on. I haven't had a chance to do them, and I only do victories. I don't do losses, so they've been sporadic. So I haven't had a chance to put a lot of footage out there. But you can go subscribe to the YouTube channel, Carol Porter III with 3 eyes, and check out the highlight videos, the live streams on SportsOTHP on Echobar Radio every Sunday night around 6 o'clock. We talk sports, politics, current events, independent music, entertainment news, and interview independent artists from all over the country, all over the world. So check us out. As always, on my feed, I'm in with some independent music videos. As always, I'll let Robbie get to it with the NBA Roundtable and that Great Olympics coverage and this charity event. And as always, see you guys next Monday. DC Sports without the politics. It's not just a catchphrase. It's not just a motto. It's what we do. CP3 live from the lab, and I'm out.
All right. Thank you, Carol, for joining us as always. And we'll bring in our NBA roundtable now. And we'll take it from there. The people are excited about the Neville emote. So I just broke 250 followers since now we're primarily here on Twitch, although I'm still streaming live on Sports on the Hill podcast page as well. We're going to have a little vote at the end of this of which we're going to do. Is the Fire Neville emote or the Sus Neville emote going to win out for tier 1 emote, and then tier 2 will get the other one? I know that there's a big debate among some of my friends whether we want my cat to be on fire and looking devilish, or if we want him to be his normal sus self. So we'll definitely post those towards the end of the show and let people have a vote once we get a couple more people in the chat. I know that there's potentially a couple raids coming a little bit later. So we'll bring in Tim and Arun, and I know DC's People's Champ has been modding, but we'll bring him in visually as well. I'll start with you, Tim. How are you doing tonight?
Oh, I'm doing great. Happy Valentine's Day. Glad the Wizards got a victory. It's been rare.
Yeah.
Got to savor it.
103 to 94. It's a good segue and a good start. I didn't break down that scoring in the last segment because we were talking Super Bowl. But yeah, I was happy to see we held on to a victory. We'll definitely break that game down a lot more. Arun, how are you doing tonight?
Not bad. Listening to Linkin Park Valentine's Day song on Valentine's Day, and
nice.
Yeah, 2-1 since the trade deadline. Good job, Wizards.
That's a deep cut. That's not a normal song that a lot of people listen to. I appreciate that as a diehard Linkin Park fan. All right, Champ, how are you doing tonight?
I'm hanging in there. I'm seeing the love in chat from Andy and Carly. I appreciate them as always. And yeah, 2-1 week for the Wizards. But I got some very stern words for this team, honestly.
Yeah, well, it'll be interesting to break it down. Let me see if I can get our let me refresh one thing real fast on the back end because I want to be able to check out Samantha Taylor in a few minutes. But we are going to start off. Let me see, does this work with our screen share in Safari? All right, so nope, no, it's cut off. Now you're back. Okay, cool. All right, let's get into this pretty crazy week, but really good week for the Wizards. We're not going to talk about the Heat game. We kind of broke that down last week because it was just before our show started, at least this part. So let's get into this Nets game. There was a 1-point victory, which I thought was really interesting. The Brooklyn Nets outscored the Wizards 27-24. This is the first game after both teams made some big trades at the trade deadline. We'll get into the trade deadline as part of this conversation as well. Then in the second quarter, it was closer. The Nets outscored them by 32-31. The Wizards had a phenomenal third quarter, outscored them 31-19. And then the Nets tried to come back into it, outscored them 34-27. And were able to hold on to a 1-point victory. There was a 2-point shot at the end that made it closer, but I know that they missed the 3-point shot, but ultimately, you'll obviously take that. The Wizards had pretty even scoring down the whole line. They had 7 players, I believe, in double figures, led by Neto, who had 21 points, who played really well in the starting guard position. I was really happy to see that. Tim, I'll start with you. What were your thoughts on this game?
This was a great victory, I think, because for the whole season, basically, the Wizards had a rotation that was way too long, and the reason this team has struggled is because there were too many players vying for too few minutes, and it really tore the team apart. And finally, there was a game where half the team basically got shipped out, and it was a very short rotation. Only 9 guys played, and that includes Cassius Winston and Gill, who were out of the rotation completely before this trade. So I think the guys that were actually around for this game really were just happy to play a lot of minutes and get, more time than they're used to. And Neto looked great because I think he felt free. He thought he might be off the team, and now he's going to start a lot of games and play a lot of minutes. So it was great to see that. The Nets have really struggled lately. They lost like 11 straight, but they did have Kyrie Irving in this game, so it wasn't an easy game, and the Wizards needed a second half comeback. So, the Wizards are just a little bit out of the playoff spot, but this was a big win. It just didn't show their team at all because it was a really kind of short bench, but you like to see the fight in this game.
Champ, what's your thoughts on this game? Champ?
Yeah. So Kyle Kuzma messed around and got a triple-double, which was amazing. He played very well. The team as a whole played really well. I just think that one negative thing from this game was the fact that Kyrie did go off in this game. But the problem is the Nets are not going to go very far because they're only going to have Kyrie for a handful of games because of the fact that he refuses to get vaccinated, and New York has a mandate where you can't be in venues without being vaccinated. So a lot of their home games, they're not going to have them. They have more home games down the stretch than road games. So they better take advantage of the fact that they have Kyrie on the road than they do at home. But a really solid win for the Wiz. One of the things that's been a knock on them is the third quarter and how they get blown out in the third quarter. But this time they blew them out in the third quarter, which helped them to secure this victory. So a good win for this team against this Nets team. And it caused the Nets to have an even longer losing streak. It extended the losing streak that they were already on.
Yeah. So Arun, I thought that New York might be starting to change those rules. Is that going to happen soon, or is it going to still hurt them for Kyrie?
I think it's probably still going to hurt Kyrie. And right now, I believe Kyrie's only eligible. I believe it was 7 of the 18 available games that the mandate holds into place. And the Nets, they did win today against Sacramento, but they ended their 11-game losing streak. But they could miss the playoffs, especially if Kevin Durant's injured. It's weird that the two final favorites, the Lakers and the Nets, are right now in the play-in position. So it'll be interesting to see if Kevin Durant comes back. And Kyrie Irving, Ken said he went off. He was hitting threes over Denny. But then I think the Wizards did a better job in the second half. And I think the player of the game was Neto, even though Kyle Kuzma had a triple-double. He had 6 turnovers. Neto just went on fire. I think he had double-digit scoring in that third quarter, and that kind of propelled Washington to a win. And the Nets lost 10 straight at this point. And then, as Tim said, they ended up losing 11 straight.
Yeah. All right, real quickly, trade deadline. I want your quick take on this, and then we'll move and we'll do like a power move through the last couple of games. Tim, your quick takeaway on the trade deadline moves for the Wizards.
My hater take is Latvian trash for Latvian trash, but my positive take is Porzingis is by far the second best player on the team now. So they do have more talent on the team with this trade. But I think even best case scenario, he probably won't, stay with Washington very long. Just looking at his track record, he's very talented and made one all-star team, but he has worked his way out of 2 teams where, they really wanted him and they gave him a starting job, and he was paid a lot of money. So, until he proves he can fit in, you kind of have to feel like he might be a problem. But the talent level is higher, and salary-wise, it's at least as good or slightly better than before they got rid of Bertans and Dinwiddie. So I like it. They haven't had a really good big man in a long time, so that's exciting, but he has to stay healthy, and he's not healthy right now. So that's the downside.
Yeah. Champ, what are your thoughts on the...
I mean, I can't say I'm a fan, but I can't say I'm not a fan. Only reason why is because I hate the fact that we don't have Trez. Trez brought so much energy. He brought so much passion. He brought so much intensity coming off the bench, playing in the middle. And he was just a reliable hand. And for him to go and not only leave town, but go to a rival like Charlotte, it hurts a lot. And Davis, he just hasn't been shooting very well, so bye to him. And then he went and told everybody, the Wizards business, that there's infighting. They're fighting for minutes. I got more on that after this, but all in all, I'm in the middle. I'm on the fence.
So I think that some of that infighting and some of that for minutes and what seems like potentially a locker cancer might be Trez. He's really great on the court, but what it seems like with how often he gets traded, that he's not so good in the locker room. Arun, do you think that there's any truth to that?
Yeah, Trez already had a fight with KCP on the court, and I believe Bertans also went at Denny at one play where Bertans Denny didn't set a screen, instead Denny cut to the basket and Bertans yelled at Denny, which is kind of odd. And I think Bertans, he got that money and he thought he deserved play time, but Kyle Kuzma, Denny, and now Rui are outplaying Davis Bertans, especially they're out shooting Bertans from 3-point range. So there's not much reason for Bertans to be on the court. He did hit a clutch three in that Pacers game early on in the season, but he's gone. I think this trade's actually the first trade with was a win. Porzingis for Dinwiddie and Bertans. Plus, the Wizards are getting a second round draft pick. I think Dinwiddie was already a lost cause. He was actually fighting with Bradley Beal. Apparently, Chris Miller went off on Dinwiddie. He was one of the selfish players, apparently. And maybe Beal might be a little bit selfish. We'll see what happens going forward. Beal was averaging 31 points per game, and now this season with Dinwiddie, he's only averaging 23 points per game. And worst case for Porzingis, this contract is the Mavs are ending up paying more money to get Dinwiddie and Bertans, which is just weird. And his stock has fallen dramatically. He may not even play, but the Wizards don't even have to pay him if he's injured, so it might work out even better. They weren't playing Bertans and they were only playing Dinwiddie because they just gave him a big contract, and Neto has been outplaying Dinwiddie. And if the Wizards are bad, there's no reason they should re-sign Harrell, and he's an expiring. They got a second round draft pick for him. They got a young prospect in Carey from Duke, who I believe per 36 minutes was averaging 25 and 10 with Duke, but we'll see. I think he's not really going to be that much of a prominent factor with Brian and Daniel Gafford returning and Porzingis playing center position. But I think it's a good trade. The Wizards could probably flip Porzingis. Maybe they bring Russ back, Porzingis for Russ next year. Who knows?
Yeah, I think it's easier to move him as a piece, but it'll be interesting to see if he works out or plays well for us. For timing purposes, let's get into the next game. The Kings versus the Wizards started off bad started off well for the Wizards. Sorry, they're up 29-24, and then up 36-35. But then a bad third quarter, as Ken was alluding to before. It's happened to us a bunch. They were outscored by 10 in the third, 33-23, and outscored 31-22 to make for a very lopsided 123-110. We're still kind of shorthanded. Corey Kispert did go off for us. The Kings really played very well. I'm going to get each of your speed takes on this one so we can get to the last game as well. But Tim, what was your fast take on this one?
Just a disappointing loss, but again, working in new guys. But Ish Smith appeared and he played well, so that's great. And the Kings have an exciting new team because they made a ton of trades. So they're not doing great this year, but they might actually make the playoffs now. So it was kind of exciting to see Sabonis play there, and they actually have a lot of talent now. So that's it.
Champ, what are your quick takes?
Third quarter. I said it earlier, the third quarter. That's where they either win or lose ball games. And right here, they got blown out in the third quarter. What happened? They lost. They were up by as many as 13, and they lost by 13. So there you go. Third quarter, they got to learn how to close the deal in the third quarter so that the fourth quarter they don't have to be pressing. Third quarter seemed to kill this team every time.
All right, Arun, your quick thoughts.
Yeah, Sabonis was really good. Almost a triple-double. Dante DiVincenzo, 7 points and 5 assists, and not enough isolation. Like the Wizards, they're good at passing the ball, but they just don't have shot creators right now, and that showed in the second half where they only scored 45 points.
For sure. All right, let's get into this Detroit Pistons Wizards game that happened just during our podcast. In fact, we watched the fourth quarter live. The Wizards started off well, up 24-22. The Pistons came back and outscored them by 2, 28-26. So it was tied at halftime. And then the Wizards actually went for a run. So again, positive third quarter equals a victory. 37-28, they outscored them in the third, and it was an even 16 all in the fourth. for a 103-94 game in a relatively defensive played game. Kyle Kuzma played well, 23 points. KCP had some big plays down the stretch. I thought that they played really well overall. Nothing stood out too much to me, but I'll get each of your quick takes. Starting, I'll go backwards this time. We'll start with the rim.
Yeah, Sadiq Bey was good for the Pistons. He had 13 of his 24 points in the first quarter, but the Wizards just got it going offensively. Kyle Kuzma, 23 points, and all starters in double figures. Rui also had 12 points. So the Pistons lose 8 straight or something like that, and another win against a bad team for the Wizards.
Yeah. And Champ, what is your take?
Good win for the Wizards. Awesome job. They third quarter once again proved to be the difference after they went into the half tied. They outscored them by 9, and that ended up being the end result. So that's the thing. But here's the problem. This team started 10-3, guys, and they only won 16 of their last 43 games. Coach, figure it out. Thank you.
All right, Tim, what is your quick take?
Well, I mean, in a positive light, the Wizards are actually tied for the 10th spot, the last playoff spot with the Hawks, because the Wizards won today and the Hawks lost. So they're not that far out of it, but it almost feels like they're already kind of giving up on this year. The Pistons are the worst team in the league, and this game was close. It was really ugly in the fourth quarter. I think part of the reason it was so low scoring in the fourth was just both teams were tired and had a lot of young players that were struggling at the end to make shots. So it wasn't exactly like the best game at the end, but I mean, you like to see some wins. It's just to not, blow out these terrible teams is a bad sign. The schedule is pretty easy coming up, but clearly the Wizards are just not playing great basketball overall.
Yeah. All right. So let's talk about these upcoming games and give each one of you an upcoming game to try to get this done in 4 minutes. We'll see if that's even possible. So we got the Pacers Wednesday at 7:30. The back-to-back, you playing the Nets at also at 7:30. So that's in Indiana, followed by in Brooklyn, and then Spurs come to town on Friday. It's the 25th. So it's only these 2 games because there's the All-Star break. All right, so I'll let each one of you break both games down because it's pretty quick. So Tim, Pacers and Nets, what are your thoughts?
I think the Wizards will probably lose both games just because the Pacers brought in some new players. They're struggling, but it is a home game for them, and I think they can definitely match up with the Wizards. And then the Nets, they're also struggling a ton, but they're going to want some revenge against the Wizards, and they really need to start winning some games for seeding purposes. So, I don't have a ton of confidence. I think the Wizards could definitely win both, but I'm not picking them in either game.
All right, Champ, what are your thoughts?
They beat the Pacers, then they go into Brooklyn and they beat the Nets. The Nets won't have Kyrie, of course, because of reasons, and KD's going to still be out because of injury. They were able to beat them without KD, but with Kyrie going off. So with no Kyrie, there's a better chance. I'd say they go back-to-back and win both games.
All right, and what is your take, Arun?
I have them going 1-1, losing to the Pacers and beating the Nets without Kyrie.
All right, there you go. I think that they'll probably win 1, lose 1. I really don't believe, but we'll see what the Nets can do. But the fact that Kyrie can't play at home, I actually think is a huge advantage for us in that one. All right, well, I wanted to get all your breakdown on the Super Bowl. We've only got about 2 minutes left. I know that we've already got people on the line. So I may end up saving that for another day, but I'll let each one of you give your quick 1-minute take in your send away. Let me see if I can stop that screen share for a second. Tim, your favorite thing about the Super Bowl and any final thoughts? Oh, did Tim just
Yeah, sorry, my internet went bad, so I cut my video.
That's
I love the halftime show. I love the Larry David and Jason Alexander commercials. And I'm glad that Ohio still has not won a Super Bowl. So that's great.
nice. All right, and let's go to Arun next. So what was your favorite moment about the Super Bowl, and any final thoughts you have?
I guess my favorite moment is Cooper Kupp catching those 2 TDs, and congrats to Sean McVay, former Washington head coach, and maybe Washington will bring him back for $15 million a year, and it won't work out, and we'll run the ball for 2 yards a carry.
Sounds good. All right, and Champ, what are your final thoughts on the Super Bowl?
Same as Tim. Halftime show was lit. Every song that I heard kept giving me goosebumps and took me back to my 20s. I'm about to be 40 this year, and it went back to a time where things were different, but the music was great. It felt great to see Mary, to see 50, Dre, Snoop, even see K-Dot, Kendrick Lamar, Anderson .Paak, Eminem, all of them. It was great. I enjoyed all of that. The game wasn't bad either, but the Super Bowl halftime show was lit, and I never watched the Super Bowl halftime show, to be honest with you.
That sounds, yeah, I mean, I agree. I thought the Super Bowl halftime was probably my favorite part of it, but I think the game was close. It was not, it was hard for me to pick a team of who I really cared about. Sometimes it's easier to root for a team. I find I like that better. Also, I found myself missing hanging out with a lot of you guys, and I usually throw a Super Bowl party, and I got to enjoy it with my parents, but it wasn't quite the same, as having a big party that we always do. And also have to put the kids to bed and have to watch on DVR and delay. It kind of broke it up for me. But overall, I'm happy with how it went. But I appreciate you guys for helping me break down this week in the Wizards, and we'll talk next week about how they did with these 2 games, and the All-Star game is next weekend, right?
It's coming up, yeah.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, it looked like they had an All-Star break after this week, so I think it might be next week. And if it is, we can maybe break down some of that if any of you guys watch some of those as well. But it's been fun, and we'll talk to you guys next week.
Sure. Thanks for having us on.
See ya.
All right. Well, bring in Josh, and we're going to bring in Stewart as well, the Modfather here. They can turn on their cameras and mics, and we'll get our Olympic talk underway. And how are you doing today, Modfather?
I am doing fantastic. How about you?
Good. And we've got a special guest, Josh Taerk, a recording artist. And there you go. I love the bass in the headphones. I love it. Sounds good.
It's all about that bass, man.
Right, exactly. I've heard some songs like that. So I'm happy to bring both of you guys in. I'll ask you just really quickly. I know, Josh, you've been busy with the stream and all of that, but were you able to watch any of the Super Bowl?
Absolutely.
Did you have a thought on the halftime performance if you got that?
I thought it was one of the best halftime performances that we've seen in a very long time. And I'm a fan of 70s, 80s rock music, so I loved when Springsteen did it. I loved when Petty did it. But there was just something about seeing Dre and seeing Snoop, and then having all of these other artists just absolutely crush it when they got up there. Everybody sounded amazing. Every song that they played was oh yeah, I remember that song. I remember that song. I love that song. It was just, it was phenomenal. I loved every minute of it.
So it looks like Davy's doing his own show. He's going to rate it and do it, and that's complicated.
Brilliant.
He needs more time. So he might come in the tail end of the show. Maybe he doesn't make it. We'll see how that goes. But there's no pressure on him. I know how tough it is. I know his show started a little late, and I've been there as someone who's now done this for 6 years. You never, it's hard to predict, especially doing a podcast. I mean, it's nice doing a music show because it doesn't really matter when you start and when you end, as long as you let your people know. Unless you're front page or something, then it probably wouldn't be good. Right. But nice. We just got a follow. I appreciate it. and Miley Music. That's really cool.
Right on.
So a big part of what we're doing, and she was on earlier today, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
She was phenomenal. She rated into Social Climate, from what I
Right,
remember. And
exactly. Yes.
I
I think you're right. So
yeah, it was
it's been a crazy day. There's been so much going on. If people are watching this live on Twitter, if they're watching on Facebook, it's just the Zoom feed. And I apologize, I didn't send the same thing to both. But if you're watching on Twitch, you can see that there's a total above where I am, and right now I believe it says that we are at 18,675, and so that's just really incredible. And live donations that are happening right now also are appearing to the side of my screen as well. And so I'm really proud of what we were able to do. I know on Carly's stream earlier, we broke 10K, which was kind of my
That's
goal originally
unbelievable.
for the day. And so it starts the day off right. And this to be able to get another 8,600 on top of it. We still got a couple hours to go in this day. Josh, what are your thoughts on how day 2 has gone so far?
I have been absolutely blown away from the first stream yesterday with Rodster Jam starting us off. Just seeing the amount of excitement, the amount of enthusiasm about the streams, but seeing how everybody was engaging with what it was that Variety did and what it was that Variety does for so many kids all over the world. That was the thing that hit me the most about this event, is that the streamers were so enthusiastic about the cause and about talking about what Variety does. And for those that don't know, Variety International has about 40 different, they call them tent offices, in almost 15 countries around the world. And what they do is they focus on sourcing programs, sourcing educational material, wheelchairs, keyboards, iPads, creating integrative sports. So swim teams, basketball teams, karate teams, all of these different kinds of things for kids of all abilities to be able to feel like kids, to be able to enjoy their childhood and to be able to live the best lives that they can. And watching all of the streamers go through this, talking about what Variety meant to them, talking about what the kids and working at this streamathon for these kids meant to them, and then just seeing the donations come in. I mean, with Carly, like you said, we broke 10K, and that was the morning of day 2. And then fast forward to Jordan Lane's stream this afternoon, and she raised $5,000 on her stream alone. Like, we got from, I think it was 13K to 17K. It was
Somebody
ridiculous.
donated $1,000, $1,111.11.
Yep.
One donation. And on the Carly stream, I got to give a shout out to the Electric Moose. I mean, he donated, I think,
remember
over $1,000 in different chunks, but throughout the stream, and just
Moose
amazing.
put us over the edge for that 10K. I remember that.
Yeah,
It was unbelievable.
so exciting. So it's been fun to be part of the organizing committee. Josh, you've done an incredible job, and the whole team has, to try to get this schedule. I know tomorrow, I think you're double dipping. You have an 8 o'clock both morning and nighttime stream. Is that correct now?
Absolutely. So we kind of had a surprise stream that we just found out we were going to do in the morning, which is great. We get to raid into Luna Keller, who is a phenomenal music streamer from Germany. And then, we're going to be on the front page at 8 p.m. Eastern time tomorrow night. I got the full band coming back for that show as well. It's going to be a great time. But I've just been I've been so moved by all of the streamers that have taken time out of their schedule and have decided to not only donate their time, but donate their funds, donate the stuff that they would be earning from streaming and from doing a regular stream. They're not only asking for donations, but a lot of them have been donating their bits and their subs, and this hasn't been stuff that we've asked them to do, but just seeing their want to do more for this charity and seeing their engagement with it. I mean, I go back to at the start of this, I told myself, if we were able to affect one person's life in a positive way, then this was a win for us. It's the first time we've ever done something like this. We've got 5 days of music, 24 hours a day. So like coordinating this stuff, we were all kind of scratching our heads, trying to figure out how to do it. And to see that everyone was not only so excited about it, but was so on top of everything. All of the streamers had their emotes in, they had their commands, everybody was on it. And it was just incredible. And I had somebody reach out to me who was saying, you know, and I don't want to name names just to keep, you know, anonymity, but they reached out and they said, you know, a family member of theirs has some exceptionalities. And coming from that place, they were so blown away that all of these people wanted to come together and not only stream for these kids, but stream for a brighter future for these kids to be able to be kids, to be able to enjoy things like playing hockey. There's a kid in Ontario where I'm from, Davy, who has not. She is in a wheelchair. She isn't able to move around without the wheelchair, and she can't communicate without using a keyboard and a computer. But her dream was to play competitive sports. Now, for a lot of people, that would seem like an impossible task. Variety comes in and goes, "You have a dream. Let's make this happen." And she is currently, I think this is her second year as the first female Volt hockey player in Canada. And she's still playing. That's the kind of stuff that Variety does. They allow kids to be kids, and they allow kids to believe that there is more to their future than maybe even what they believed was possible. And then on top of that, you get the families that are watching their kids not only get to enjoy themselves, get to interact, get to engage with kids of all different ability levels, but they get to watch their kids excel at something. They get to watch their kids grow. They get to watch their kids have fun. That's invaluable. And that's the kind of stuff that Variety does every day. And so it was so moving for me to see all of y'all. Robbie, I know you've been a huge part making the emotes and always asking where you can help out. We got Kane, we got Carly, we got so many people in the chat. Primordial Sounds has been in, I think, every stream because I've been in most of them. I've seen them all over the place. Quantum has been in every stream. Just seeing the amount of support for this charity and seeing the amount of generosity that comes out of this Twitch community is unbelievable. Like we've already won. We've already accomplished so much just by seeing that.
For sure. We're going to do a live look-in also tonight during this segment. I was able to, I think, get it to work. So we'll try that so people can get a little taste of what's going on in that. So we'll do that in a few minutes. I want to bring in Stewart as well. Stewart, welcome on in. I want to ask your favorite moment of the Super Bowl, if you were able to watch it. Any thoughts on, I don't know if you watched the halftime show or if you had any opinion on that.
I was hoping he wouldn't ask about the halftime show, but I'm going to say my opinion on it. It
Nice.
could be one of the worst ones I've ever seen. I freaking
you're fitting the stereotype that anyone over 50 hated it, though.
Exactly. No, not true. It's not that it's not my style of music. That had nothing to do with it. I looked at the set and I thought, my God, was this designed by a 12-year-old kid? I'm going, what is this? It made no sense to me. I'm gonna say I like Dre's performance. I love Dre's performance, actually. I thought it was really cool. I was a little bit, I liked the start a little bit, but then it just seemed so weak to me. And the weird platforms they were singing on, and it was supposed to blow apart at one time. It kind of looked like it did, but it wasn't supposed to. I'm not sure. I didn't like it. So, music aside, had nothing to do with it. I the weird set and the weird way they went around things was weird. I did like seeing him take a knee there. What's his name? I forgot his name now. Eminem.
Yeah.
I like seeing him take a knee. I thought, everyone should be taking a knee at every football game they possibly can, but that's my opinion. So, but anyways,
It's funny. I didn't even go political with it until it was brought up later. Like, I actually just thought he was bowing down to the greatness that was Dre, which made total sense to me. Like,
I didn't even look at it that way. I looked at it as a. So I guess it depends what you saw when you saw it, right? Maybe
Right,
he was
yeah.
bowing down to Dre. I don't know, but
There's
it was
something in it for everybody.
Right,
yeah.
exactly.
But yeah, no. So it's not the music that bothered me. It was just I thought it was just strange. I didn't like the music. I mean, the performances were good. The sound was great. I will say that, but I just didn't like it. I thought it was a weird halftime show. Anyways, game wise though, Cincinnati gets a touchdown off of a really badly missed call. So I wanted Cincinnati to win, but I'm happy that the Rams got they got the bad call back, because there was a bad call late in the game too that they could have gone against the Rams, and they didn't. So I thought it would kind of even itself out, and the right team won in the end. So they were the better team. I like both teams, so I didn't care who won. I just love seeing both teams there. The bad calls were prevalent in the game. There's too many bad calls in critical moments, I thought. Usually the reffing doesn't bother me in the Super Bowl, but it kind of bothered me a bit yesterday. So that was my
Yeah, we were talking about in the last segment how like they were so close to not having any issues with that, and then all the problems with the refereeing happened right in the most important time at the end. So I guess it doesn't matter that they got it right for 58 minutes.
Yeah, you got to go the full 60. It's
right.
like, yeah, and then missing that Cincy call. I mean, he grabbed the guy's helmet and spun him around. It was I think Taylor was it Taylor that he spun? I can't remember the guy's name. He was watching him. Anyways, spun him around in circles, and he got this the easy catch, and it just was a horrible miss that should have been called. But anyways, it worked out in the end. Both teams I've had an equal amount of bad calls. It's just that there was too many for a Super Bowl as far as I was concerned. And late, like you said.
Josh, what were your thoughts of the game itself?
I was actually really excited that both teams, like, it was a neck and neck kind of thing, because you get a lot of Super Bowls where there's very clearly one dominant team, and I wasn't sure going into it what this was going to look like. I mean, I'm also, like, being a songwriter, I love the story behind stuff. So hearing the story of the two quarterbacks, it was kind of one of those, like, a 6 of one, half a dozen of the other situation for me. Like, both of the stories were really cool. You had the Rams quarterback who was on the Detroit Lions for years, and like nothing happened, and then he comes over to the Rams and gets to go to the Super Bowl. Like, that's amazing. And then you've got Cincinnati's quarterback, and it's like you get the first year Joe Burrow. Did I get that right?
Mm-hmm.
First year, like, rookie quarterback, and he's taken his team. And I mean, Cincinnati definitely, like, in the long history of the game, I'm so glad that they were able to go to the Super Bowl. I'm so glad that they had that run. I would have loved to see a win for the city, but Joe Burrow is going to be around for a while. The kind of quarterback that he seems to be, in the way that he takes care of his team, I was very impressed with that. I was also impressed that after that whole, like, tackle knee situation, he came back on and played the rest of the game. That was good. But yeah, I think, like, look, both quarterbacks played a really good game, but I think the Rams defense, especially towards the end, that was huge. That's what clinched it for them.
Yeah,
I have to agree that Rams defense was they weren't really that good for 3/4 of the game, and then that last quarter, actually into the third quarter, they started really picking it up, and I thought that was cool to watch, because they really are a good defense. They just, for some reason, they went 2 quarters and into the third, and they weren't doing anything, so it was hard to watch that.
Yeah, I agree. I thought it was a good game down to the wire. It was hard because I was explaining before, I couldn't find a team that I really wanted to win. And so usually that helps me in a Super Bowl. I like to root for something.
For sure.
But both had great stories. I would have probably been happy either way. I am a bit of a Ravens fan, so it's hard to root for Cincinnati. So ultimately, I think I'm happy. I think that some of the ending with the bad calls, and combined with it being in the home stadium for LA, gave people this sort of thought, some people, that it's rigged. I'll ask you each really quickly that. Stewart, do you think any part of this is rigged, or do you think that it just played out the way it did?
You're going to rig a sport that has 40 or 50 guys, or more than that, 60 guys on each team that have, some of them have the IQ of a gnat. No, you're not going to get away with that. That's not going to happen. How do you rig something of that level? is there a lot of steroid use? Oh God, yes, there is more steroid use than you want to ever see, but everyone does it. So it's not rigged in that way. Yeah, when people talk about rigged, they should really think about how tough it would be to rig something like this. There's just too many players involved here, too many, pieces to move around, right? So there's no such thing as a rig.
That's kind of how I feel too. But Josh, you think that there's any validity of what people are saying?
I think watching the way that both of the teams played, there's definitely no rigging involved in either of the teams because they both gave it their all. You could tell that they all wanted to win, and even with the bad calls, the reason that some of those calls were made or should have been made is because both of those teams really wanted to win. You could see the frustration when they didn't get the first down. You could see the frustration when they allowed, a pass to go through, when they weren't where they should have been, or when the players thought that they could have done something more. That's when you know that their heart is completely in it and they're not thinking about something else. So from the player's perspective, I definitely didn't think it was rigged. And from the reffing standpoint, there's a lot, like the Modfather said, there are a lot of moving pieces involved in a football game. And yes, you have multiple refs on the field, but they're only human. It's natural that they're going to see something or they're not going to see something at certain points. And it's arguable that some of those things should have been caught. And like those, as you were saying, the Modfather, that one call on Cincinnati should have been made. It's pretty obvious when you see a face mask kind of thing, and especially if the guy's being turned around. But you got a lot of different stuff going on the field, and like they're going to do the best that they can, and that's probably why in the last couple minutes of the game they made that other call, like you were saying, to kind of even it out, because they probably realized like, oh, we made a bad call. We should maybe consider that moving forward.
I always wonder if that does happen. Because that was a bad call. They know they missed a big one, right? So I always wonder, does that actually happen where the refs go, you know what, we're going to let another thing go, or we're going to call something a little tight?
So in hockey, it definitely does.
It's a hockey thing for sure. That's why I got that mentality. I'm a Canadian.
Yeah. I definitely, I'm not talking to two Canadians about American football, right? So I agree that I do think that it does come into at least the mindset. I don't know whether they talk to each other about it or it's just something that
that would be a mistake.
Remember.
Yeah, that would be a mistake.
but I mean, in hockey, they have talked to each other about it, and it's been caught on hot mics before.
Yes.
And that's caused some issues. Just even I think last year, I want to say. So, it's interesting nonetheless. Let me see if I can get this live looking to work here. I'm gonna have to take my headphones off so you guys can hear the audio. Let me just see if I can finagle this to work.
We just finished with Jillian's stream, so we rated into Samantha, so we were to rate into the.
Nice.
There you go.
That's great. All right, so I think that works for there. Let me just see if I can get audio now.
She gives you everything, but boy, I couldn't give it to you. And I know that you've got everything, but I got nothing here without you. So one last time, I need to be the one who takes you home. One more time, I promise after that I'll let you go. Baby, I don't care if you got her in your heart. All I really care is you wake up in my arms. One last time, I need to be the one who takes you home.
Wow. That's beautiful. So so I just wanted to give people a little bit of a sense over there. So that's Samantha Taylor music. So if Carly can
Samantha took this serious tonight. She's done up to the nines here.
Yeah.
There you go. Go big or go home. You got to do it.
Yeah.
And I mean, looking at that total, when we rated in, I think we were on the lower end of like 18,000, and now we're at 18,750.
Yeah, I see a $200 donation on 100, a 75, and
we're getting close to that 20,000 mark. That's amazing.
Yeah, that's really cool. So I was hoping just strategically from the planning committee, if we could do 5 a day, you could hit 25, right? That makes sense. And so
I think 5 would be a good day, but it's obviously you guys can do way better than that. So let's hope it
Yeah.
keeps every day like this.
Yeah, for sure. And then I started thinking maybe they could do 1,000 for every 2-hour stream, but that's, I don't want to put the pressure on. But so like, and that's been double
never
what the
know,
original
right?
number, right? So so it probably falls somewhere in between. But I'm just so happy to be a part of the organizing committee. I'm gonna throw my headphones back on. But yeah, it's just really cool to see how far that it's come. And it's come from an idea. People don't realize this, but Josh and the team have come together starting on October. I was looking back at what our first messages to each other were about this topic, and we had done a previous charity stream together with a team with Peter, and it went well. And Josh, did you come up with this charity specifically?
So Peter reached out to me and he said, "Hey Josh, I'm asking different streamers. I'd like to do another charity stream. Is there an organization that you work like that that you think would be good for this?" And my family's done a lot of work with Variety Ontario, and the people there are phenomenal. They've really become kind of a part of the family, and that place has become a really important place for us. And so when Peter came to me with that idea, I went, I wonder if I could get the people at Variety involved in this. And I remembered them talking about having a huge international organization that they're kind of a part of, like Variety, the children's charity. Even though there are different tents and they operate somewhat independently, there's this big overall umbrella organization that's funding all of this stuff. And so we went to the people of Variety Ontario and said, look, we have this idea, we have the streamers, and we have the means to do this. And they'd been involved in telethons like in the 80s and 90s, but they hadn't done one in a very long time. So I kind of pitched it like, this is the modern telethon. This is kind of the new way of doing something like that. Would you guys be interested in doing it? And would the international, would all of the tents be able to do this? So they then went to Variety International, gave them the idea, and they said, we'd love to do it. We're in. We got on the phone and we were trying to figure out how to make it work, and who was going to do what and how we were going to figure out, does this tent do this? Does this organization do this? And the one thing that I remember talking to them about, and the thing that changed the whole course of what this was going to look like, was I said, if you're on Twitch, you could be watching somebody from Switzerland, but not everybody in their stream is from Switzerland. You're going to have people from all over the world. And we love finding out where everybody's from, and we love finding out where our friends are from on Twitch, but it's not about where you're from. It's not about what language you speak. It's not about where you call home. It's about coming together in this place as a family, as a unit, and contributing to something that we can all get behind. And they really took that to heart, and they went, okay, let's work together on this, and let's bring all of the different tents involved, and let's get everybody on the phone. Let's coordinate this. And this is the first time that they've ever worked together as a single unit to do something like this. And so they were super excited about it. When I came back to Peter and said, hey, we're a go, Peter was amazing because he had Robbie, he had Aaron, he had Craig, he had Maddie, he had, oh my gosh, there were so many incredible organizers that we had in that Discord, and they were ready to go. We started reaching out to streamers. We had a whole bunch of the people come back from the previous stream that Robbie was talking about, the charity stream that we did, I think that September or that summer.
Right.
And I had reached out to a bunch of streamers that I had become friends with, and everybody wanted to be involved. And what originally was going to be 3 days from 6 to midnight turned into 5 days and nonstop. And that was when we figured that out, and everybody kind of got their time and everybody was cool with it, and we had the whole schedule. I remember that was absolutely crazy to me, that we had
Yeah.
24 hours of music and just constant raids going through. Like that
50 artists. I just want to make that happen, you know, and you have to take 4 slots, which is really incredible to do that, and 2 tomorrow, which is, you know, I'm happy your voice has gotten stronger. I'm happy that you're feeling better, because it'll be a very busy day. But I like that tomorrow morning will probably be a chiller one, and the evening one with the full band, I'm sure, will be a very different dynamic. And I love the full band, seeing the whole family come together and watching you guys do all those family shows. I thought that was, it's all what this is about, right? You know, it's for the children. So it makes sense that a family would come
100%.
together and be a cornerstone of the event. So I really appreciate you for bringing the original charity together and then helping us get all of them, and then all the commands, all the stuff behind the scenes. It's a full-time effort. A lot of us put a lot of work behind the scenes. I love watching people use the emotes that you and I put together, you know, quickly, but they really work, and it's fun to see them all through Twitch and be a part of that. I see that Davy's actually on the line, so I'm actually going to bring him in, and we're going to do, we've been talking about football, which wasn't originally on it, but I love the Super Bowl, so I'm always going to talk about.
Did we talk about football?
Yeah.
Did we do that already?
Yeah. And
I
we're
think we
going to
got
talk a
about
little
a minute and a half of football in there, and I think what, in the last 30 minutes.
That's true. We did. And then, but you know, most weeks people hear me yammer about football, so you know it's all good. But we'll bring Davy in here. We're gonna, each one of you guys going to tell me your favorite Olympic moment of the last week. And but Davy, how are you doing tonight? We'll see here. We got Davy. Oh, I had him, and then now I see myself. I don't know.
Can't hear Davy.
I think he's here. I think we got him.
Oh,
Davy,
That's my fault. That's my fault. All on my end. Sorry. Hi. How you all doing?
hello.
Hey, how's it going?
We're good. We're good. Davy, how was your stream? You were just on a stream.
Goodness, wow, it was arguably as competitive as a Super Bowl. We were having people out firing left and right about the various Disney movies. This is really incredible. We had 2 raids tonight. It was just an incredible stream.
That's awesome.
So, but it was great. Josh, good to see you again. How you doing?
I'm
Modfather,
doing
good to see
great,
you
man.
again,
I was
too.
just gonna say it's terrific getting to hang out with you again. It's been a while.
100%. I'm so proud of what you're doing to raise money for charity and everything with your Streamfest. Like this is it's an incredible event, and I've been reading more about it. I hope I can pop in on some of these streams soon.
Thank you. And you know,
Davey, I think
honestly,
I hear some background music on yours. Is that possible? There you go. Okay.
Yeah, that was my fault.
No problem.
My fault. I'm all over the place tonight.
I love the Disney music, but I'm like, what is, it's going to distract the heck out of me. So.
Oh, my fault. Yeah, totally my fault.
It's all good.
It's
Let's
all
try
good.
to guess who it was. It was Disney music.
Yeah. I think it was maybe Beauty and the Beast.
Yeah,
I was gonna make it.
Amazingly, you got
Very
that
nice.
right. That is absolutely correct.
Wow.
How did you know that, Robbie? That's impressive.
There you go. That's my one series. I can't play music, but I can identify it very quickly. As Josh knows,
Well done.
I'm pretty quick at adding the
Absolutely.
name of your songs up there as you go through your medleys. But
Fastest mod in the West, right
there you
there.
go.
Yeah,
So,
100%.
so that's fun. Let's go favorite Olympic moment of the last week. That way we'll get each one of you guys to get a final segment. We'll give one more appeal for the charity. We'll give one more listen in, and then we'll rate into it as well. So I'm going to start off with Stewart, the Modfather. What was your favorite event of the last week or big newsworthy story that you want to talk about?
Valyeva. This is what is wrong with the Olympics. This girl, 15 years old, test positive in December. Positive test should be gone, right? Everyone should say, oh, you know what? This is wrong. You tested positive. But somebody brings up some dumb crap and says, oh, but she's too young for us to test. Oh my God, what has that got to do with anything? Okay, so this girl is tested positive. They're going to allow her to keep competing throughout the Olympics because she's too young to be tested. Why is she in the Olympics then? Why are we allowing under 18-year-olds to compete? It makes no sense to me to have somebody that tested positive be allowed to compete like just in December they tested positive. It's not like we're going back 3 years or whatever, right? I can't remember what drug she has. It's TZM or TMZ or no, I'm not getting mixed up with this show. Anyways, the drug she has is an enhancing drug. It's definitely a banned substance. It's definitely you're gone. And this is the Russian Olympic Committee. You know, they used to be called Russia. Remember them? they're notorious for cheating, and they've now cheated out front and right in front of everyone. No, anyways, so they've cheated out in front of everyone and said, yeah, we've got a 15-year-old, but you can't test her because she's underage. It's illegal to test her. And now they're going, okay, so we're going to ignore the fact that even though she has been tested and she is positive, we're going to allow her to compete. So I'm thinking next year, or next Olympics and the Summer Olympics, Canada should enter a 200-pound guy into the flyweight boxing and say, well, he's only 17 years old, so we shouldn't weigh him because it's against the rules to weigh him because he's underage. What's the difference? I mean, I've seen bad things in the Olympics. I can remember years ago in ice dance, the Canadian team got totally ripped off in ice dance, and there was so much of an uproar and there was so much complaining about it that they said, well, we're going to fix the situation. The the International Olympic Committee jumped all over the skating community and said, you guys have got to fix this now. So their fix was to give both the Russian team and the Canadian team golds. Both pairs got golds. How is that a fix for a judge that cheated? And so the Olympics always will do the wrong thing. Every time it has to be done, they always make the wrong decision, and they've made a ridiculously bad decision in this case.
Right. All right, Josh, I'll give you a chance to either respond to what the Modfather just said about that, or talk about a specific event you want to talk about.
I will, branching off of that, I will say quickly that I thought the whole thing with the Russia versus Canada women's hockey situation was very interesting because the team didn't get tested for COVID, and so the Russian team and the Canadian team was like, well, we don't feel comfortable with this. They need to wear masks when there needs to be some kind of situation to keep us safe. So they were wearing masks on the Russian side until the third period because they were losing pretty terribly, and they came out in the third period with no masks on, and they were literally getting into the faces of the Canadian players because they were hoping that would be kind of a tactic, I guess. The funny thing though about that is that the Canadians still obliterated the Russian team, but it's crazy to think that kind of stuff still happens. So in responding to that, it is crazy to think that's still a thing in competitive sports. And wouldn't you want to just put your best person up against the best of somebody else? And if you're going to win, don't you want it to be because you were the best of the best? Speaking of that, Mark McMorris, bronze medal in slopestyle from Canada. I love this guy, not only because he got bronze, but because in 2018, he suffered a near fatal injury. He was backcountry skiing. So he's slopestyle. He's a skier. He was backcountry skiing. There was I think he hit a tree. And we're talking fractured jaw, left arm, ruptured spleen, stable pelvic fracture. This guy was a mess. And this was 2018. So he was going to miss that Olympics. He comes back. He's not only well enough to watch the Olympics, he comes back and he wins bronze for slopestyle. I love stories like that because it's all about perseverance and it's all about what you believe you can do versus what everybody tells you that you can do. And that definitely came from his desire to be there and his desire to win, to come back from a near fatal crash on skis, and then not only get on skis again, but get on the podium for it on an international world level. It's phenomenal. Love that. Mark McMorris.
Yeah, that's a great story. I was watching a little bit of that before, and there's the downhills, actually what's on live on NBC right now, which is always a exciting match. I think this is maybe even the final for it right now. But yeah, it's just interesting to watch these stories. And one of the things that I love about the Olympics, just sort of hearing how these athletes get to this moment, I think maybe is more exciting in some cases than the actual moment itself. So that's always been my favorite part of the Olympics is hearing stories from people around the world and how they get to this place. Davey, I know that you wanted to talk about Nathan Chen, which I thought was really exciting for the USA team. Talk a little bit about him and your thoughts on this week.
Well, last week he got his first gold medal, and that was such a great story. And you could see the emotion in his face. It was an incredible moment. I mean, we've heard a lot about him, and it capped off a 4-year run of just incredible success in Olympic figure skating. And I think having an American back on the podium again, back on top, it's a huge moment. And so it was said to be a near perfect skate, a free skate. And I watched the whole thing, but I think his response to the win is probably the most memorable part of the entire thing. As great as that skate was, but Robbie, did you see that too? Like, it was just an
I watched
incredible
the
moment.
skate, but yeah. So it was. I was really happy, especially because there's been this interesting thing about descent, where you come from, which team you should play for, and there's this whole backstory in China about people that have Chinese descent. Should they come back and play for China or should they play for the United States? And you've seen both sides of this issue, and obviously the media over in China were trying not to play this guy up because they knew he was going to win. So they were like focusing on the Japanese guy and everybody else. And they chose not to acknowledge it because I know at some level they thought it was kind of like a diss that he didn't come back and play for
They called
China.
him a traitor. I think some people called him a traitor, which is funny. Interesting.
Yeah. It's so I was really happy that he was able to win for if no better reason than that. Just to come over that kind of adversity. Stewart, what are some of your thoughts on that story?
I you know what? I didn't watch the figure skating much at all this week. But I did see Chen skate, and holy crap, it was amazing. That was an amazing skate. It's nice to see someone have that good a skate at that important a juncture in a career, right? These guys don't make millions of dollars, so if they can do something that big at that right time, it looks really cool. And good on him. It was nice to see.
So I have two Canadians in chat. I think that it's obvious that we got to talk a little bit about hockey. So I'll get each of your thoughts on both the men's and women's side real fast before we'll do one more listen in. Then I'm going to have a vote of which emote's going to get my T1 or versus tier 2 slot, because I'm debating whether Sus Neville or Fire Neville gets the one that everyone can use in commands. That's really the difference, right? So I want to be able to use one of them in some of my friends' commands. So I'm going to let you guys talk to chat, as well as chat have a vote at the end. This is to celebrate 250 followers on the stream. So I really appreciate everyone for becoming a part of this journey here. I know that DC Sports Talk isn't like everybody's favorite thing on Twitch. It's a very niche brand, but I appreciate all the follows and people for supporting me along on this journey. But let's talk a little hockey, since it's my favorite sport. As you can tell that there's hockey memorabilia behind me. But I'm going to go to you first, Josh. Have you watched any of the hockey? Do you have any opinion on either the men's and women's?
So I have not watched any of the hockey, unfortunately. I've kept up with some of the scoring, and I know that we've got a really important game coming up on Wednesday. It's Canada versus U.S. women's hockey, and that's the biggest rivalry that I feel is in the women's hockey world, like Canada versus the U.S. And I think they've been trading back and forth at some of the Olympics over the past couple of years.
No, not really. The Americans won the last one, but the Canadians won the 4 or 5 before that.
Yeah, like there's quite a big streak that the Canadian women's team has, and to their credit, they are incredibly strategic players. And like I'm always blown away with the Canadian women's hockey team, because they are not only are they grinders, and not only are they able to make plays and do things that on an international level that I think are phenomenal, and they're able to rack up scores that are like, I think they won against Switzerland the other day 10-3. Like that is a ridiculous score for a hockey game. I don't think I've ever seen something that's even remotely come close in the NHL. So that's impressive.
Yeah,
And
I'll
they've all,
give. Oh,
yeah.
sorry, go ahead.
No.
Oh,
They've
yeah.
always been quite competitive. I'm very excited to
It's
see
been
what
a
they do on that
great
gold medal game.
rivalry. I got to actually have a player from Team USA come on my show a couple of
Nice.
years back on the big run in 2018 to the Stanley Cup. She's a diehard Caps fan from Rockville, which is where I
Love
live, and she was on that team, and it was cool to hear her break that down, then be able to show off the gold medal at the one of the big Capitals games. Was one of those outdoor games that was done in at the Naval Academy, which is really kind of cool that they did that. And I believe was that game against Toronto. I'm trying to remember now. It may have been. So it was really cool to have her talk about how much that means. I actually got to meet her and got to hold my very first gold medal, which I think is one of the coolest things.
Nice.
And within a year, I got to hold a gold medal and touch the Stanley Cup, which I don't think I'll ever be able to do either again, but I'll take it. And she was phenomenal helping us break down, what it was like to be a part of that. And it was just really cool to talk to her after she had come back. And I just know how much that meant to it, because Canada just kept on beating them over and over and over again. And that was her first Olympics. She had never actually gone before. And it was cool to see. Unfortunately, she's not there this year. But I think both teams are doing really well. Stewart, what are your thoughts going into that matchup?
It seems like the Canadians have the Americans' number right now, which is I love to say that, because it's this is an important game Wednesday, obviously. But the Americans are missing a key player. They lost Brianna Decker. We talked about this last week. They lost her in a dirty hit in an early game, and it's sad to see, because Canadians lost one of their better players too, in Melody Daou. But she's back and playing. She played in that 10-3 win. So it'll be nice that seeing the two of them come up against each other. I don't think the Americans can beat the Canadians right now, just because of the injury and because of the fact that the Canadian team seems a little more cohesive right now. Speaking of which, we talked about this last week. Jillian was her AAA coach was one of the defensemen on the Canadian team, and she's really picked up her game as far as the way she's playing for the Canadians. And LaRock is her name, and she's actually really doing quite well. Getting into what the Canadians did when they played the Americans in the round robin there, they beat them 4-2. I wasn't thrilled, and a lot of people in Canada aren't too happy about the fact that the Canadians got a little chippy at the end of the game. The Americans weren't doing anything stupid, but the girls started getting a little frustrated, and with the Americans, and they went a little chippy on them. And I don't like seeing that. I don't think that belongs in hockey, not especially when you're beating a team and there's only a couple minutes left, right? The American men's team looks pretty good. I saw them play against the Canadians. The Canadians were a far better skill team, but the American men's team are a grinder team. And Josh mentioned it. The Canadian girls are a grinder team, and it's so hard to beat these teams that grind, and they work hard, and they're diggers. They work for the win. The Canadians looked way better than the Americans skill wise, but the American men kicked their butts. So the American men look good as far as that goes. It's weird not seeing NHL players. A whole array of NHL. It's really weird now. But in some ways it's better. Maybe it's it's like going back to old school before the NHL players played in this. So it's kind of neat. I never was a fan of the dream team and all the a team coming in and slaughtering everybody and winning the gold medal. It kind of bored the tears out of me, to be honest. And I still see that a little bit with the women's hockey, because there's just two teams there. There really is just two teams, and the others are just waiting in the wings trying to get better, but they're not really catching up. And it's been 20 years of catch up, and they're no better than they were 20 years ago. So it disappoints me a bit that there aren't more teams that make it more competitive. I'd like to see Canada get a bronze medal because they lost to better teams, but it's just not going to happen. They're going to get gold or silver no matter what, right? So
yeah, I'm interested to see how this goes. My favorite sport, and I have not watched it because they don't have the NHL players, is the men's hockey. But I'll be honest, I haven't watched a moment of it. But Davy, do you know what's happening on that side of
No, it's just not the same. Like I miss the battles. Remember, you never forget the battles in Vancouver. What a great that USA Canada game went to overtime. It was an amazing game.
Yeah,
I'll
never
forget that.
So
it's decent hockey, but it's just not NHL level hockey. It's good, but
yeah. So is it going to be who's the top teams in it at this point, Stewart?
I don't know. There's not anyone really seeming to run away with it. So I think anyone has a shot. I actually really like the Americans after watching them play a couple games. I think if they get their act together, because again, we're talking players that don't play with each other a lot. So these guys are all trying to learn each other. But once these guys get going, I think the American team might be the team to beat in here. It might surprise everyone.
Sounds good. All right, so I want to open up the floor for Josh to give one more big shout out, since this is a charity stream. Talk about some of the stuff that's coming up in the next couple of days. I know that you have 2 streams, let people know about when those are.
Before we go there, I just want to mention one more thing. Yeah. Eileen Gu, remember last week she won a gold medal? You guys were talking about traders earlier that trade countries. Eileen Gu is the ultimate in what I consider just bad politics. She's like that. Said she's switching over to China to try and make the world a better place. No, she's switching over to China because she got that modeling contract in China that she had to take care of, right? So she got a gold medal last week. She got a silver medal today. That's a gold and a silver that the Americans are missing out on their medal total. So just a bit of a complaint of mine. So,
Robbie, can I add a point too? I want to update everybody on the curling, the mixed doubles curling.
Oh yes, the curling, right?
Oh, there you
Italy just finished their dominance, and remember it was kind of getting close for a while there, but then the pressure just did them undone. So many unforced errors. So you got to give it up for Team Italy. That was as dominant as I've ever seen anybody in any sport. They won the gold, and honestly fairly convincingly. I think the finals they won by like 3 points, but. It's incredible. It's incredible.
They look good every single game. They looked insanely good. The two of them are quite matched up quite well. So,
yeah. Well, I mean, there's a lot of interesting stuff. Hopefully, I can have you guys maybe on next week to recap the end of the Olympics as well. And Josh, you're always welcome to join. I know that you've got some family vacation-y stuff and other things coming up soon. So no pressure, but you're always obviously welcome to be a part of it. We are going to go listen in for a second again. I like that live look. And then I'm going to have Josh give one more thought on the upcoming couple of days. And while we do that, we'll also have the emote poll. I'm going to spam chat with the emote. And Carly, if you can set like a 5-minute poll for that, for whether we want sus Neville or fire Neville, and I will put them in chat so people can see those as well. Let me see if I can share the screen one more time with Samantha Taylor music and see if this works.
All right, there we go. That was The Little Things by Ashley Avink. Honestly, Bill, that song was literally perfect for this because it really is the little
beautiful. Well, I'm going to pause
things
her and let you talk while she tees up the next song, Josh, and then I'll spam the email. Let people know about what's coming up and on the stream.
So this is getting to the end of day 2. So after Samantha finishes her wonderful set, we've got the compliments who are finishing off the day, and then we are right into day 3. So we are heading into the middle of our 5-day, 24-hour-a-day streamathon. I'm going to be streaming tomorrow at 8 o'clock in the morning Eastern time. I'm also going to be streaming at 8 p.m. Eastern time tomorrow with a front page slot. We've got tons of other front page slots happening this week. And tomorrow morning, right after the compliments, we got John Page Music, Calden Berg, who's from South Africa, who's doing a set with us as well. Raina Mystic is going to be there. We got Liz KTV coming in at noon, who are from Germany, and they are wonderful people. We got Katie, Voice Unmuted, coming on at 6. We got Jane Rio and John Lee Music finishing out the day tomorrow. And there is tons of incredible stuff that's happening on each of these streams. Everybody has their own unique donation goals. Everybody's got their own feel, and it's wonderful to be able to go into another stream and experience the music and the vibe and the energy of that streamer, bring the communities together, chat with everybody, and do it for such a wonderful cause. And I would love to say before we get back to the poll, because I am definitely wanting to vote on that poll, that it takes a village to make something like this what it is. And I cannot stress enough that every single streamer that has donated their time, thank you all so much, because this would not be what it is without you. And all of the mods that are in these channels hitting those commands, making sure the timers are working, making sure that everything is set up. I can only imagine, given what I know the mods do on my streams. So I can only imagine the work that is going in behind the scenes for all of these different streamers. So thank you so much, mod teams, for all that you're doing, and all of the organizers, Robbie, Craig, Maddie, Peter, Aaron, all of y'all. Thank you so much, because without you reaching out to the streamers, without you checking in on everybody, this wouldn't be what it is, and this wouldn't feel the way that it does. This really feels like a community coming together and doing something that is bigger than all of us. And I'm so overjoyed about this. I am so over the moon about all of this. And I can't thank you guys enough for everything that you're doing. All of the donations and all of y'all hanging out in the chat today who are listening to me talk about this, who are coming into Samantha's stream afterwards and are going to join us for the rest, like as long as you can be there. Thank you so much for doing so. You don't realize how much of an impact, and maybe you do, but the impact that you're making on these streamers who are so involved with this charity and who want to get this message out, just being there and listening and encouraging is such a wonderful way to spread this message. And it's ultimately what we're trying to do for Variety. So thank you all so much for your generosity, for your time, for being there, and for showing heart.
Yeah, it's been awesome. All right, so it's tied 4-4. So there's 16 people in chat right now.
Wow.
Half is voted. So also there's a Perugly in chat if people really like ugly cat Pokemon, which is ironic since we are voting on a cat right now. I just thought that's pretty funny of Pokemon Community Day. And I love how Neville, which you guys cannot see, is staring at me on the other side of this camera. Maybe I can shift it around real quickly, but you can see that he's over there.
It's just looking like which one are they picking, Robbie?
This vote. So all right, so we've got Fire Neville in the lead 6-5. And I need people to actually win this. I know that it's a very common thing on Twitch polls to try to tie it. I really encourage people not to do that, just because I need an answer for which one people who are tier 1 subs will get. So my gut feeling is Fire Neville, but I don't want to sway the vote. But we'll see what other people do. While we have the rest of this vote, let's listen in to Samantha Taylor.
You really know how to make me cry when you give me those ocean eyes. I'm scared. I've never fallen from quite this high, falling into your ocean eyes. Those ocean eyes. All right, there we go. That was Ocean Eyes by Billie.
She's great. I really
She is
I like her a lot. I'm gonna stop the share. We'll send everybody over there in just a couple of moments. Again, Fire Neville's in the lead, 6-5. We'll see if that is able to hold. I appreciate everyone for voting in this and being a part of the stream today. I'm going to let each one of you guys kind of give a final thought, and then I'm going to let you go. I'm going to keep Josh to the end. But Stewart, I'll let you have the first say, and I'll let you then get out of here, and we'll talk to you soon.
What did I want to mention that we didn't talk about today? Curling was good, snowboard cross. Oh, the other thing I wanted to mention was Josh mentioned earlier that we had a really cool story in a bronze medal, and the guy that nearly killed himself, McMorris or whatever. That's a cool story. The guy that won the gold medal, he had cancer. He had leukemia. What kind of cancer did he have again, Davy? You remember the cancer, don't you?
Hodgkin's lymphoma.
Yeah. So he went through 12 bouts of battling the cancer with the drugs and all that, and he won the gold. He is currently in the lead and is favored to win the gold tonight in the giant one that they're in. So it'd be kind of a cool story, a really cool story. If you had the Canadian wins 2 gold medals, and he's been through the cancer battle and as a survivor. So that's one story I wanted to mention. That was it. And thanks for having me on.
Yes, of course. I enjoy getting to see you not just be a moderator and say sarcastic comments, but actually say them in person to people's face.
When have I ever said a sarcastic comment? There's no evidence of that at all.
Not even right now. So, all righty. Well, it's good to have you, Modfather, and hopefully we'll get to do one last Olympic segment next week, and we'll talk to you soon.
Great. Thank you.
All right.
Thanks, Modfather.
All right, Davy, I'll let you give your send off and any shout outs to any upcoming shows that you've got.
Ooh, well, that's very nice of you to accommodate me in that area. Well, on Wednesday we're gonna meet Half Pint Carrie. It's gonna be a really fun sandwich show collab. So that'll be fun. And if you missed, and if you want to, you can check out the VOD of the Disney rankings that we did. It was really fun. I'm sorry I was so late though tonight.
No, it actually worked out perfectly. So we didn't even get to our Olympic talk until you showed up. So we could talk about children's charities for a long time, and so which is what we're here for. So I'm happy we got to do that, but I'm also happy we got to talk Olympics with you as well.
Shout out to Josh too for, like as I mentioned, putting that together. I can't wait to sample some of that tomorrow, and I'll be on the lookout for your stream too, Josh.
Thank you, Davey. I appreciate that. And again, couldn't do it without all of the organizers and all of the people from Variety in the chat and just the streamers donating their time. It's been phenomenal seeing that kind of support for such a worthy cause.
Yeah, it's really cool. Some of them actually came in to chat a few minutes ago, so I really appreciate. I think we had Aaron from Variety Ontario just followed me, so I appreciate that.
Oh, that's
as
brilliant.
well. So I really, it's been fun to be a part of it, and I'm seeing here that Ryan, that E Flat guy, says he wanted to say hi and congratulate Josh for putting together a fantastic event. But he's happy that sorry that he couldn't make it with the work schedule to participate, but he's still happy to be a part of it.
It's
so
all
that's
good,
great.
Ryan.
And,
thank you for hanging out in the streams like you have been, man. And there's always next year. There's always next year.
It's true. And I really want to encourage, that's kind of one of the last things I want to mention is that people can host or rate into or share on social medias their favorite streamers that are coming up.
Absolutely.
And all of that helps tremendously, and it doesn't cost you anything. I mean, obviously the donations are what we're trying to get, but awareness is also huge, and just the spreading of the word. I've been behind the scenes trying to talk to different mods and I don't want to say beg for raids, but it is what I'm doing, and for a good cause. I don't do this for everybody, but just try to see how many extra raids we can bring in and just more eyeballs, and the front page spots have been great. So I thank Twitch for accommodating us and having those as well. And
it's been huge.
And Davey, any final thoughts before we let you go?
Oh, congrats on 250 followers, Robbie. Yeah. All right.
Hey,
I appreciate that.
there we go.
Absolutely.
So
We love you, man.
Thank you. I look forward to coming on one of your shows in the near future, and we'll also I can't wait to bring back the interview show as well. I need to bring that back, but right now I have a small kid, so I'm trying to keep my streams to once a week. But when they grow up a little bit older, I'd like to bring back a second show and bring. Josh was the first to be a part of that team. I know we became affiliate that night, and I look forward to having more streams like that where I get to have more of these conversations, which I love sports, but also having conversations about general stuff and music as well. So, but Davey, you're fantastic. I highly encourage people to check out your show. Hopefully,
100%.
You use the animated emote that I made for you. Hopefully that one worked. I don't know if you'll let people.
It's pretty
know
cool,
about
you
that.
guys.
So I know I've been making them for Josh as well. I'm trying to make an animated emote for every one of my favorite streamers. So definitely I look forward to that and working with other streamers in the near future with that. But Davey, have a great rest of your evening, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thanks, you too. Thanks so much, everybody. Bye, Josh. Bye, Robbie.
Take care, Davey. Good to see you, man.
Likewise.
All right, Josh. One final appeal. I'll let people know a little bit more, just in case they've tuned in a little bit late. something maybe that we haven't talked about with the charity, or anything you want to end on, and also let people know your times tomorrow.
Absolutely. So, another story that I posted today talking about what Variety does in South Australia. There was a little girl who was in a lot of pain. She had a form of cerebral palsy, and there was a lot of pain around her joints and her movement. And the family approached Variety in Australia and asked them what they could do. The funds that Variety Australia collects doesn't just go to organizing staff or anything like that. They organized for this girl to be flown to a hospital in the US where she underwent life-changing surgery. And she now has much more mobility. She has no pain, and she is able to live her life and be a kid. And that's one of the many examples of what Variety does. Their sole focus is making sure that all of these kids, no matter what ability level, no matter what those kids are facing, they want to make sure that every kid has the opportunity to live their best lives, to join team sports, to feel included, to participate, to be able to make friends, which over the past couple years, I know for me, not being able to see my friends and not being able to hang out with them, that's been really tough. And for some of these kids, trying to figure out a way that they can actually become involved in team sports and activities and make friends in that way can be a challenge without organizations like Variety that are looking to create really integrative programming, meaning that no matter what ability level you are, no matter where you come from, you've got a place there. You're a kid and you deserve to be there. You deserve to be seen. You deserve to have fun and make friends. And so it's one of the many things that Variety does. I love the people that work there to death because they are all so dedicated to this cause. And I can't thank all of the streamers enough, the mod teams enough, all of the organizers enough for being as dedicated and for doing everything that you have done to make this streamathon what it is. It's been amazing, y'all.
I love all the hearts in chat. I love getting to see
There we go.
the emotes that Josh and I made come to life right there, and everyone's supporting it. Whether
That was
Quantum
all
Miley,
you, Robbie. That was all you,
and-
man.
Thank you. And but it's been fun, and I'm just so happy with how well it's doing. I just saw another $100 donation come across.
Oh, that's
and
awesome.
we're gonna go visit in just a second, but just a lot of great donations. I want to thank Andy for donating on my stream's behalf as well, and I've been donating on Carly's stream, and I will then donate as well on Josh's tomorrow. And I really believe in the cause, and I really hope that other people do too, even if they can't do it today and they want to use it for one of the redeems. I totally support anyone for giving any amount. Again, $5, $10, it all adds up. And I really appreciate the people for being able to open for even larger amounts too. But again, awareness is important, and everyone just coming
100%.
together to be a part of this is just such a really cool opportunity. And I'm just so thankful that I've gotten to do this with you, Josh. And I look forward to seeing how the rest of this goes. I know tomorrow I have a very busy day at work, so I'll have to see how much I can actually see. But I'm there in spirit regardless if I can't be there in person. And I really appreciate everyone for coming together and doing it for the kids. And with that, I'm going to initiate a raid. And Josh, any final thoughts before we go on this raid?
Thank you so much for having me on the show, Robbie. I really appreciate it. When you reached out and said, I'd love to talk about Olympic stuff, but I'd also love to talk about the charity event and find a way that I could be involved in it. And, we've got 3 more days of this incredible streamathon. And for any music streamers that are in the chat, we have had a couple of people reach out and ask if they could do what we're calling a satellite show, which is a show that you put on in your own time on Twitch. We'll give you all of the overlays and all of that access to the Discord and stuff, and you'd be able to raid into the raid train but it's a way for other streamers that maybe didn't know that this was going on and want to get involved and want to be part of the cause. Not just music streamers, but any streamers who want to be
Yeah.
involved in this. Y'all can have a stream and we'll set you up with everything and we'll help you out and introduce you to the Discord. And it's been amazing to see this community come together like this. And this is exactly why when I brought the idea to Variety, that I said this is the perfect place for Variety to be, because the people here are just that incredible and that genuine. So thank you all so much for being you.
Yeah, I'm gonna we're trying to figure out the raid message. I'm gonna pause it for just a second and then get people to figure that one out. And then so there we go. I'm gonna restart it right now. But I think we've got the raid message figured out. I hope that people enjoy it, and we're gonna send 15 more people over there. And thank you everyone for tuning in tonight. It's been a really fun night. I'm gonna end my Facebook Live right now as well. But I really appreciate everyone for tuning in. And
Recording stopped.
And then let me just stop. Okay, anyway, does that work? Stop recording.
Yo, we just hit 19K.
Nice.
Oh
That's
my
awesome.
goodness.
I'm happy that we got that in there. And so everyone join the raid, and we'll see you over there. And thanks again for everyone for supporting this amazing cause. Hopefully we hit this goal and we just smash it and we go way past it. And I'll see you guys on the rest of the streams. Have a great night, everybody.
Much love, y'all. Robbie, thanks again, man.
Very welcome.